Chapter 233. Fusion of Yin and Yang. That's right. Only with the help of the fusion of Yin and Yang can she wake up. The fusion of Yin and Yang is the most mysterious communication between a man and a woman. When Yin and Yang meet, their energy will merge into one and form a big cycle in their bodies. The fusion of energy will lead to the sublimation of their souls and achieve the true fusion of their souls and bodies. At that time, you don't need to wake her up. Your minds will be connected and you will wake up naturally. You won't be affected at all. On the contrary, whether it's you or her, both of you will be greatly improved in the fusion of Yin and Yang. After hearing what the treasure-hunting sword spirit said, Chen Hao fell silent and frowned. After half a minute, he asked, "Is there no other way?" "No. There are only two ways. I'm afraid only the second way can be done. You've already stepped into the Golden Core realm. Actually, you don't have to worry so much," said the treasure-hunting sword spirit. Chen Hao didn't say anything else. His mind went directly to Atota's soul. How long will it take to master the possession technique? With my talent, it's the fastest speed. 1 day. No, 16 hours. Can I use it? I have to use it immediately. Cough. That won't do. Why not? You're only in the early stage of the Golden Core realm. Even if you can understand the possession technique immediately, you have to set up the broken Yang and pure Yin sacrificial altar before you can use it. Otherwise, your soul will dissipate when it leaves your body, not to mention the possession technique. If I can understand it immediately, how long will it take to use it? If I have all the materials, it will take at least 3 days to set up the broken Yang and pure Yin sacrificial altar. Also, I have to choose a full moon night. But when I set up the immortal trapping array, all the materials were destroyed by you, damn it. Chen Hao cursed and his mind jumped out of his mind. A full moon night? There's no full moon here. In 4 months, it'll be too late. Looking at Tan Tai Lian's motionless figure, Chen Hao really had a headache. Facing such a beautiful woman, it was impossible to say that he didn't have any desire. However, in the past, although Chen Hao had done this countless times with the best women on earth, it was only an exchange of interests and a pure venting of primitive desires. There was no such thing as soul fusion, but he was also unbridled and fearless because he didn't need to take any responsibility. All he needed to do was to give the other party enough benefits. That was emotionless. However, things were different now. Once he did it, how would he face it? Where should he go from here? The knot in his heart could not be untied. Time ticked by. Every minute and every second was torture for Chen Hao. He kept pacing, shaking his head, and looking at Tan Tai Lian. He fell into intense torment and inner struggle. You still have a way, don't you? In Chen Hao's mind, the treasure-hunting sword spirit sensed the mysterious and terrifying existence and asked. So what if I do? So what if he didn't? This is his inner demon. How he chooses is up to him. This time, I can't interfere. Didn't you stop him from mixing Yin and Yang in the past? Why aren't you stopping me now? The treasure-hunting sword spirit asked unhappily. The past is the past, and the present is the present. This is tempering. What do you know? Human emotions are the most mysterious thing in the world. The power it can unleash is also beyond your imagination. When the time comes, it's up to him to choose. I can only interfere when I'm absolutely sure he's right. When I'm not sure, I can only let him choose. Otherwise, he'll still become my original master. Everyone has their own Tao. Only by walking your own Tao can you truly attain Tao. The mysterious existence's tone was uncertain for the first time. He had accompanied countless masters, but none of them had reached the end. Why was it that under his complete control, they were clearly getting closer and closer to the final goal, but they all failed in the end? Once, twice, thrice, and 4 times. How many times had the same result in a row? He had no choice but to find the problem with himself. It was also because of this that he said what he said just now. Perhaps the root cause of the mistake was him. Everyone had their own Tao, but he had paved the way for everyone to walk on. Therefore, when he met Chen Hao this time, he didn't do that again. He only interfered when he was completely sure that he was right. As for the rest, he would let nature take its course. He didn't pave the way. Only when he saw the path Chen Hao was going to take would he confirm the direction of his assistance. Fusion of yin and yang. How do I do it? Finally, when there were only 4 hours left and one of Tan Tai Lian's souls was about to disperse, a gleam flashed through the eyes of Chen Hao, who was immersed in struggle and suffering. He seemed to have made up his mind as he spoke in his mind. This. Do you still need to ask? Upon hearing Chen Hao's words, the treasure-hunting sword spirit knew that Chen Hao had already made his decision. However, the question he asked gave the treasure-hunting sword spirit a headache. Cough cough. In the past, I didn't have any experience. I mean, I didn't have any emotions. Now, I don't have any experience at all. Will it be different? This kind of thing. I know, but I'm only an artifact spirit. I can't really understand human emotions. You should just do as you wish. I can't help you. Fuck, who needs your help? Chen Hao gloomily cut off the connection with the treasure-hunting sword spirit. At the same time, he urged his mind to form a mental barrier in his mind. Although these guys weren't humans and didn't understand the true joy of these things between men and women. However, Chen Hao was still unwilling to let this kind of thing be watched by countless pairs of eyes. Taking a deep breath, Chen Hao looked at Tan Tai Lian, who seemed to be sleeping soundly. You can understand, right? Chen Hao muttered to himself. Helian Wuzi's figure appeared in his mind. There was also a figure that was once real but had now become illusory again. Xia Yuyu. It wasn't that there was a problem with Xia Yuyu. In reality, the only one who could truly shake his heart when he sealed himself was Xia Yuyu. Perhaps it was because of the 9 revolutions heaven-yang earthine formula, or perhaps it was because of Xia Yuyu's eyes. In short, it was shaking, and Helian Wuzi and Tan Tai Lian, who really existed beside him, were slowly awakened. Chen Hao didn't think about which was more important. Even if he thought about it, he wouldn't have an answer. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thought of taking things one step at a time. Hiss hiss hiss. On the Zhaixing Peak, the leader of the Zhaixing sect, Yuan Tairan, and 6 elders with powerful auras faced the place where the runes of the 7 stars grotto heaven had appeared. They continuously sent out mysterious hand seals that emitted majestic energy fluctuations. They forcibly forced out a trace of the runes that had disappeared. However, it was only a faint trace. No mysterious aura or teleportation hole appeared. In the middle of the 7 people, a drop of blood essence floated. This drop of blood essence was Yuandao's. And they were currently capturing Yuandao's aura. Any disciple of a sect would leave behind their birth date and a bottle of blood essence after they entered the sect. At the crucial moment, they could rely on the birth date and blood essence aura to lock onto the disciple's aura in the mysterious long river of life. This was also a remarkable ability that would definitely be used when discovering the entrance to a monument or a mysterious space. The more powerful the monument or space, the higher the requirement for the cultivation of the caster. For a powerful cultivation holy land like the 7 stars grotto heaven, even the leader of the Zhaixing sect couldn't complete it alone. The other 6 elders were the grand elders who were in seclusion in their own grotto heavens. Any one of them had a stronger cultivation than Yuan Tairan. The inner sect elders, outer sect elders, Li Long, and the other 27 disciples all had intense anticipation on their faces as they stared at the 7 people who were casting the spell. Time ticked by. After a full hour, Yuan Tairan and the 6 grand elders gradually frowned. Clearly, they had encountered something that was beyond their expectations. How could this be? After a few more minutes, Yuan Tairan and the 7 grand elders finally gave up. They were all puzzled. Yuan Tairan looked at the 6 grand elders and asked, "Is there a mistake in this disciple's birth date and blood essence? Which peak does he belong to?" Grand Elder, Yuan Dao belongs to my peak. I personally calculated his birth characters and extracted his blood essence with my own hands, so there's no way I'm wrong. Could it be that you can't sense it? Meng Shigang said respectfully. That's strange. The 7 of us are working together, but we can't sense his aura. That's not right. He must have entered the 4th floor if he hasn't come out yet. As long as he's in the 7 stars grotto heaven, he shouldn't be able to escape our senses. It's very strange indeed, another Grand Elder said. Did this Yuan Dao encounter some kind of bloodline inheritance? If his birth date and birth date are correct, it could only be a problem with his blood essence. Unless, he obtained some kind of bloodline inheritance that completely changed his fortune, causing his aura and blood essence to lose its effect. Well, Yuan Dao has acquired the legacy from the Sword Lake ruins and is practicing the Dao of slaughter. Other than that, I'm not too sure. I only know that his luck, talent, battle prowess, and temperament make him a super genius of the star-picking sect that only appears once every 100 years. Oh? The inheritance of the Sword Lake ruins? According to the ancient records, the Sword Lake Palace is extremely powerful. Its Tao of Slaughter is also famous in the cultivation world. This kid must be extraordinary to be able to obtain such an inheritance. He's worth nurturing. Not bad indeed. It seems like this kid must have some kind of bloodline inheritance. His future is limitless. The 2 Supreme Elders exclaimed in surprise. Meng Langang's face was filled with uncontrollable joy and excitement upon hearing this. Alright, let's move on to the next one. We should focus on finding the location of the 4th floor as soon as possible, an old man with a higher status among the 6 Grand Elders said. Wu Zichuan hurriedly took out Qin Hao's and Tan Tai Lian's blood essence and birth characters, and said, these are Qin Hao's and Tan Tai Lian's. Both of them are new disciples, and only Qin Hao has gone out to train once. I think there should be no problem with their blood essence, and Tan Tai Lian's is even more so. Use Tan Tai Lian's. Let's not waste any more energy. This kid Qin Hao is not simple. Yuan Tairan said. When he mentioned Qin Hao, his face flickered with pride. Although it was not obvious, the crowd could feel that Qin Hao's position in his heart was obviously higher than Yuan Dao's. That was indeed the case. Even he still hadn't figured out Qin Hao's strange sword strike until now. Inhale. 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 Qin Hao sat cross-legged in front of Tan Tai Lian. He used his energy to control Tan Tai Lian to sit in front of him. At this moment, Qin Hao, who had always been straightforward and decisive in killing, felt as if his heart was about to jump out of his throat, and he felt as if he couldn't catch his breath. He was actually nervous. He was so nervous that he could not control his emotions. He took deep breaths again and again, but, the more it was like this, the more nervous Qin Hao was. Chapter 234. Those who achieve great things don't care about trifles. I'm a man. What's there to be nervous about? It's not like I haven't done it before. It's such a simple thing. Qin Hao rubbed his hands together and muttered to himself. Although he said it casually, his hands reached for Tan Tai Lian's shoulders, retracted, and rubbed again. He couldn't take the first step. Don't care about trifles, don't care about trifles. This seems to be a little big. I've done it before, but that was me in the past. It was an exchange of interests without emotions. The current me, this, Qin Hao stood up and paced back and forth. Seeing that time was running out, he became more and more anxious. Do it. What am I afraid of? Isn't it just responsibility? Isn't it just that I don't know how to face it? Since I can't be heartless, I have to be responsible. A real man is afraid of everything. What's the point of that? It's unavoidable. I can only face it head on. There's not much time left. When he thought up to this point, even though Qinhao's face was flushed red like a little boy who had stolen the forbidden fruit for the first time, his heartbeat and breathing were rapid, and his outstretched hands were trembling because he was too excited and nervous, but he still reached for Tan Tai Lian's shoulders unwaveringly. Finally, through the thin Taoist robe, he felt the smoothness of Tan Tai Lian's Taoist robe. His trembling hands were sweating profusely when he undid a button. He wanted to shrink back countless times, but he resisted in the end. There wasn't much time left. In the last 4 hours, if Tan Tai Lian lost her soul, that kind of injury would really be irreparable. The second, the third, perhaps because he had taken the first step, although Qinhao was getting more and more excited, his movements became more and more nimble. Soon, he took off Tan Tai Lian's Taoist robe. Only her chest and underwear were left. The faint body fragrance stimulated Qinhao's nose. Her fragrant shoulders, lower abdomen, and jade legs were completely exposed. Her skin was as white as snow. Although Qinhao had already seen her true appearance, it seemed even more difficult to resist the charm of hugging a pipa and covering half of her face. The primitive desire and impulse completely exploded at this moment. In the endless darkness, there was no consciousness, no thoughts. Everything was silent. Tan Tai Lian's soul floated in the most mysterious soul palace in her mind. His soul power was dissipating bit by bit. The heavily damaged phoenix inheritance had also become 2 phoenix imprints that floated in Tan Tai Lian's mind, which was as still as a dead sea and devoid of ripples. Phew! After an unknown period of time, Tan Tai Lian's mind was suddenly blown by gusts of wind, creating layers of ripples. It was also at this moment that Qinhao's soul began to violently tremble. This feeling had completely surpassed his imagination. Even though Tan Tai Lian was unconscious, even though there was no response, however, Tan Tai Lian was different from Qinhao in the past. She was a woman who only wanted to vent her desires and had no emotional foundation. When Qinhao kissed those soft lips that didn't react at all, and at the same time, slowly and truly came into contact with Tan Tai Lian's flawless, soft, and seemingly boneless body, a wonderful and unprecedented feeling began to grow in Qinhao's heart. His large hands held those soft and holy twin peaks and slid across the graceful and smooth body. There was the pride, and sense of accomplishment of a man's possessiveness. There was also the responsibility of a man. At the same time, there was an unprecedented pleasure in his body and mind. This feeling was indescribable. Qinhao only knew that he had done it. He had truly done it. He wasn't as confused, perturbed, or at a loss as he had imagined. Hiss. Although he really wanted to savor the taste of the forbidden fruit for the first time in his life, Qinhao knew that now wasn't the time. Firstly, Tan Tai Lian was completely unconscious. Secondly, there was less than 2 hours left. He had to awaken Tan Tai Lian's soul first. Therefore, he could only suppress the desire in his heart. After forming the heaven and earth yin-yang bridge between the 2 key parts, he controlled the energy in Tan Tai Lian's body and began to form a big cycle in their bodies. The primitive desire and the gentle throbbing accompanied the cycle of the body's energy. It went from rough to smooth. Qinhao was immersed in the wonderful feeling and state of mind. He gradually transcended himself. His mind and soul naturally came into contact with Tan Tai Lian's mind and clearly locked onto the most profound and mysterious soul palace. Gga. 2 weak cries sounded amidst the layers of ripples. The heavily injured Feng and Huang finally woke up. Feeling the aura of yin and yang, Feng directly merged into the depths of Qinhao's soul. Then, Huang, under Feng's guidance, locked onto Tan Tai Lian's soul palace and merged into Tan Tai Lian's unconscious soul. The mysterious power of the phoenix's inheritance of yin and yang began to release a mysterious fluctuation. Boom! The aura of the nirvana flame began to condense on the 2 naked bodies. The faint flame with a hint of blue was filled with a mysterious and primitive aura. At this moment, Tan Tai Lian's unconscious soul finally stopped dissipating. However, it still floated in the soul palace and showed no signs of waking up. Time passed second by second. The feeling of spring became stronger and stronger. Although Qin Hao put all his attention on the fusion of the two's energy and the big cycle, the pleasure of the origin stone still became stronger and stronger. However, the appearance of the phoenix made Qin Hao understand that at this moment, he had to restrain that impulse. Only through the primitive throbbing and the calling of the soul, as well as the power of the phoenix and Huang's inheritance, could he complete the true fusion when Tan Tai Lian's soul woke up. Doing this would not only awaken Tan Tai Lian, but also allow the two to complete the true phoenix's inheritance. The fusion of yang and pure yin bloomed. The true balance of yin and yang. Boundless spring. How could this be? While Qin Hao was hesitating and struggling to make a choice, on Star-Picking Peak, Yuan Tairan and the 6 Grand Elders were trying to capture Tan Tai Lian's aura again. Their faces were pale, and their energy was almost exhausted. They failed again. They thought that they would succeed this time. However, they still could not lock onto Tan Tai Lian's aura. Tan Tai Lian's bloodline did not change after she obtained the phoenix's inheritance. Even if there was a change, the essence blood we obtained was after she obtained the phoenix's inheritance. She has been in the star-picking sect all this time without any encounters. This shouldn't be. Is it because our cultivation is not enough? We can't really penetrate the space where the 7-star grotto heaven is? Yuan Tairan said with a frown after swallowing a true essence pill and regaining some color on his face. Impossible. Although the 7-star grotto heaven is powerful, it is inextricably linked to our star-picking sect. Since they obtained the opportunity to enter the 4th level, they should have been captured by us. Moreover, even without this connection, what level can the 7-star grotto heaven be? Grade 8 or Grade 9 ruins? That's obviously not possible. With the 7 of us working together, even if 3 of them are in Grade 9 ruins, we can still lock onto them. A Grand Elder said. What do we do now? Yuan Dao might have a problem with his bloodline. However, Tan Tai Lian definitely has no problem, but we still can't lock onto her. Could it be that the 7-star grotto heaven is not what we think it is? Yuan Tairan said. What do you mean? The 7th level is just our guess. Everyone entering a separate space is only the first 3 levels. Ever since the appearance of the 7-star grotto heaven and its 1,000-year legacy, none of us have gone beyond the 3rd level. Yuan Tairan frowned deeply. As the sect master, he naturally had wisdom that surpassed ordinary people. Vaguely, he already had a bad feeling. After a slight pause, he continued, if the 3 of them entered the same space, with Yuan Dao's temperament of cultivating the Dao of massacre, hearing Yuan Tairan's words, the 6 Grand Elders only frowned slightly. They had been in seclusion for a long time and did not know much about the newcomers in the sect, especially the outer sect disciples. However, the inner and outer sect elders, especially Meng Sigong and Wu Zichuan, had a slight change in expression. Sect leader, do you mean that they will attack? The inner sect elder frowned and said. After a slight pause, he continued, it's very possible. Yuan Dao and Qin Hao are competitors. Tan Tai Lian and Qin Hao are Dao companions. Now that we can't lock onto Tan Tai Lian's aura, the biggest possibility is that she has died. This can't be done by Qin Hao. It can only be Yuan Dao. Yuan Dao's aura can't be locked onto either. Could it be that Qin Hao killed Yuan Dao again? Impossible. Meng Sigong immediately said, Yuan Dao was originally half a step into the Golden Core realm. After entering the 7-star grotto heaven, he must have stepped into the Golden Core realm in an extremely short period of time. Once his massacre sword Dao entered the 2nd realm, it would be 9 swords combined into one. In the same realm, even Qin Hao, who has decent combat strength, would not be a match for him. How could he be killed by Qin Hao? I don't know how strong Qin Hao is exactly. However, if his massacre sword Dao could reach the 2nd realm, it would be difficult for him to find a match in the same realm. Unless Qin Hao has an even stronger inheritance than Yuan Dao. A Grand Supreme Elder said. There's no point in saying more. There's no point in guessing. Let's begin to capture Qin Hao's aura later. If we can't capture it, we can only wait for them to come out. If we can capture it, then what the imparting elder said might be true. Let's make things clear first. No matter who lives or dies, admit it. Yuan Tairan said in a low voice. The massacre sword Dao was indeed terrifying, but Yuan Tairan agreed with the Grand Supreme Elder's speculation. As long as they could sense Qinhao's aura, they could be sure that Tan Tai Lian had died. As for Yuan Dao, there was an 80% chance that he had died. The remaining 20% chance of survival was due to the change in his bloodline. If that was the case, then he would definitely not be able to sense Qinhao's aura. This was because Qinhao might have died like Tan Tai Lian. However, this possibility was very small. This was because Yuan Tairan was confident in Qinhao's sword. 4 hours later, Qinhao's 8 horoscope and his blood essence floated among the 7 of them. It took less than an hour for a dazzling light to rise up from Qinhao's blood essence. Chapter 235. Condense. Lock. At this moment, Yuan Tairan and the various supreme elders suddenly shouted, each of their faces brimming with intense joy. Especially Yuan Tairan. They had succeeded. They had successfully locked onto Qinhao's aura and confirmed the location of the 4th level. As long as the 7 stars grotto heaven opened next year, they would be able to open the 1st to 4th levels. What did this mean? It meant that the 7 stars grotto heaven of the Xiaoxing sect would not only be a sacred cultivation ground for disciples below the Khanate realm, but also for Golden Core realm disciples. It was only a step forward, but the impact on the Xiaoxing sect was extremely huge. After entering the Golden Core realm, even those who could be considered true cultivators would start to be restricted by the heavenly Tao. Their cultivation speed would be like rowing a boat against the current. It was extremely difficult. Especially when breaking through to the next level, they would have to endure the heavenly punishment. How many cultivators had stopped at the Golden Core realm? And how many cultivators had died under the heavenly punishment? When the higher levels of the 7 stars grotto heaven opened, even if only 1 Golden Core realm cultivator could enter each year, it was already a big deal, let alone 10. This was a completely different concept from those below the Khanate realm. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Ah! Boom! A sharp, loud, frightened, angry, and desperate cry suddenly erupted amidst the raging nirvana flames and Qinhao's charge. Boundless, vigorous, and terrifying energy was directly extracted from Qinhao's body. At the same time, Qinhao, who was a gentleman with no balls, flew high into the air like a kite with its string cut. He was pleasantly surprised that Tan Tai Lian had woken up, but he was also extremely depressed. He had not really vented it out yet. It was a critical moment, but Tan Tai Lian had woken up. Amidst Qinhao's primal charge, the mysterious power of the phoenix's inheritance, and the process of yin and yang blending, she had woken up. The moment she woke up, Tan Tai Lian only knew that her body was being possessed, pressed down, and, at this moment, Tan Tai Lian felt like her head was about to explode. She did not hear the phoenix's voice, nor did she feel Qinhao's love. Her only thought was what Yuan Dao had tried to do to her before she fell unconscious. Therefore, she did not hesitate to leave the great circulation state of yin and yang and directly attacked. She attacked with despair, fear, and anger. Little bird, tell Huang and little Lian that I'll die once too. I'll leave it to you. At the moment when Qinhao was sent flying, he thought quickly and conveyed his order to Phoenix. The gun was already loaded, and the bullets were already on the barrel. How could they not fire? Besides, it had already come to this point. Even a god would not be able to hold himself back. Even the powerful existence in Qinhao's mind and the probing sword spirit had not thought of such a situation. Of course, out of their human habits and their respect for Qinhao, they did not observe. Otherwise, his eyeballs would definitely fall to the ground. In fact, although the two of them had already begun the fusion of yin and yang and had formed a great cycle of energy in their bodies, they had yet to complete the final step. In other words, Qinhao still maintained his primordial yang body. What was broken was only his heart. On the other hand, Tan Tai Lien was the opposite. What was broken was only her body. The purine hidden in the depths of her heart was still intact. If there was a word to describe the situation between the two of them, it would be half-step fusion. Ah! Tan Tai Lien looked at the naked figure that was rolling away and was suddenly dumbfounded. She screamed again. It was only at this moment that Tan Tai Lien regained a bit of consciousness and heard Huang's voice. It's over, it's over. Chen Hao was harmed by you. Little Lien, he did it to save you. It's over, Huang. What? What's going on? Tan Tai Lien did not care that she was still naked and rushed to Chen Hao in a panic. Her beautiful little face was filled with horror as she asked in her mind. Sigh. You were already dead. Chen Hao used the fusion of yin and yang to let his soul out of his body and enter your mind to wake you up. But now. It's over, it's over. Huang's childish voice was filled with anxiety. No matter what, she was a divine beast that had existed for countless years. Her acting skills were definitely top-notch. Tan Tai Lien did not need Chen Hao to teach her what to say and what to do. She could naturally make Tan Tai Lien do what she wanted. What should I do? What should I do? Tan Tai Lien did not have time to be ashamed and asked in horror. What are you hesitating for? His soul is still in your mind. You must immediately start dual cultivation with him. Only then can his soul return to his body. Any later and his body will lose its vitality. Hurry. Ah. Tan Tai Lien's face was red. Why are you still embarrassed? You have already done what you should have done. If you had not been too agitated when you woke up and did not listen to us, you would have been fine by now. Hurry. I. What should I do? This. Huang was a little dumbfounded when she heard Tan Tai Lien's words. When they were doing it just now, it was obvious that Tan Tai Lien did not have the slightest consciousness. And now Chen Hao was acting like a dead pig. What should she do? After pondering for a moment, Huang said a little hesitantly, as long as you connect the upper and lower heaven and earth bridges and start the energy fusion, it will form a big cycle in both of your bodies. What are the upper and lower heaven and earth bridges? Cough cough. Mouth to mouth, two tongues against each other, it is a bridge. Below. You should know. Huang said a little awkwardly for Tan Tai Lien. At the same time, she sent a voice transmission, Huang Feng, this is not good, right? Can't we let Chen Hao take the initiative? Xiaoyan is a girl after all. How shy will she be? Just say that Chen Hao can't do it. If he doesn't come, it will be over. Cough cough, this is what Chen Hao said. At least, she has to complete the first step. Otherwise, it won't make sense, oh. Huang responded and directly urged in Tan Tai Lien's mind, hurry, Xiaoyan. If you hesitate, it will be too late. Do you want him to die? Ah, Tan Tai Lien's beautiful little face was like the sunset, completely red. Her heart was beating like a little deer. She felt as if she was in a dream, as if it was unreal. She looked at the naked and unconscious Chen Hao with incomparable shame. Suddenly, she thought of something and her face instantly turned pale. Huang. You said. I was already dead. Then did you endow? Tan Tai Lien asked in a trembling voice in her mind. What are you thinking about? Chen Hao came just in time. In the instant that you were unconscious, he killed Chen Hao. Don't worry, you only belong to Chen Hao. You completely belong to Chen Hao. Really? Tan Tai Lien asked in disbelief. It's absolutely true. If you hesitate any longer, Chen Hao will be finished. Hurry up and start. Ah. Okay, I'll start. Tan Tai Lien's face was like the ever-changing weather, becoming completely red once again. But she firmly, quickly, and without any hesitation, leaned towards Chen Hao, a strand of sparkling tears, unknown whether it was happiness, sadness, or something else, escaped from her eyes. She stared at Chen Hao's handsome and extraordinary face, getting closer and closer. Her delicate lips lightly trembled, and she held her breath. She was extremely nervous as she pressed her lips onto Chen Hao's lips, mouth to mouth, two tongues against each other. Tan Tai Lien thought to herself bashfully in her heart, and closed her eyes. Chen Hao felt Tan Tai Lien's smooth and sweet tongue, and clumsily pushed open his lips, wanting to separate his teeth. Chen Hao originally wanted to continue, making things difficult for her, but this wonderful feeling made him unable to restrain himself. Ah! Woo! Suddenly, Tan Tai Lien let out a cry of surprise, and was immediately blocked by Chen Hao. At the same time, Tan Tai Lien, who was originally occupying the upper position, was flipped down by a strong force, lingering without end, making love on a mountain of magi. Ga ga! After an unknown period of time, the phoenix broke out of their bodies, and circled above the two in battle. The nirvana flame burned fiercely, and gradually condensed into a huge phoenix nirvana seal. At the same time, when Chen Hao let out a low beastly roar, and Tan Tai Lien couldn't control herself and let out a sound that made her feel ashamed, two illusory figures appeared in the air, and merged into the phoenix seal. The true fusion of yin and yang, the fusion of the soul and the body, it was finally completed. Boom boom. Thunderous booms exploded from the depths of their souls. There was no restriction of the Tao companion contract, no barrier of the soul, there was only the true fusion of the soul and the body, lingering without end. Traces of mysterious aura naturally started to circulate around the two, and grew in the depths of their souls. 7 Stars Paradise, the 7 stars, at this moment, shone with incomparably bright light, and enveloped the two. Dense heaven and earth energy was like a myriad of streams flowing into the sea, and at a speed 10 times faster than when the two were cultivating alone, it surged into their bodies. Within their dantian, the golden core that had just been formed not long ago became more and more solid, and more resplendent. The surging energy was like a great river, and in the great circulation system formed by the two, it surged without end and flowed without end. Respectfully sending off the Grand Elders. On the star-picking peak, the Grand Elders that had completed their missions, one by one, turned into nothingness, and disappeared before everyone's eyes as Yuan Tai ran and the other elders cupped their fists and bowed. Li Long, and the other disciples that have advanced to the Golden Core realm, report to the inner sect. The other disciples can also disperse. Yuan Tai Ran looked at Li Long and the other disciples and said, "Understood." Once everyone left, Yuan Tai Ran looked at Meng Lengang and Wu Zichuan, and said, "Yuan Dao, Chen Hao, and Tan Tai Lien's situation should be very close to what we predicted. Tan Tai Lien should have already died. We can't be sure about Yuan Dao, but what we can be sure of is that if Chen Hao and Yuan Dao come out at the same time, they will fight to the death, and no one will be able to mediate. The two of you cannot add fuel to the fire, and neither of you is allowed to attack in secret, or else you will be punished according to the sect rules." "Yes, sect master." "Elderly, according to the standards of a core disciple, choose a mountain and start preparing." "Yes." "Sect master, only choose one mountain." "What if Yuan Dao also?" Elderly replied with a frown. Elderly was the inner sect elder in charge of the welfare of the star-picking sect. "Today, I've completed 2 chapters. Tomorrow, it will explode. I'm sure of the 3rd chapter, but I don't dare to say the 4th chapter, and it's also possible for the 5th. Writing requires passion and stimulation. I really need everyone's support. If I can't feel the passion of my brothers and sisters, it will be very difficult for me to get excited in Dark Mountain. Can you give me some stimulation, some passion? If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come and vote for me." Chapter 236. Prepare 1. If both of them come out, the winner will be the winner. Yuan Tai Ran didn't leave any room for negotiation. However, He knew that the probability of both of them coming out at the same time was very low. Even if they could come out at the same time, they would have to fight to the death. This was because Tan Tai Lien was definitely dead. How could Chen Hao possibly leave the matter at that? Even though he really wanted genius disciples like Yi Wendao and Chen Hao to exist at the same time. However, Tan Tai Lien's death made that possibility impossible. Even he couldn't stop such a thing. Whoosh! Huaxing City was the closest city to the star-picking sect. A black-clothed figure wearing a bamboo hat landed outside the city gate as fast as lightning. After paying the entrance fee of a level 8 spirit pill, he quickly entered the city. According to his identity, he only needed to show his token and he would be exempted from the entrance fee. But he didn't do that. This black-clothed figure wearing a bamboo hat went straight to the branch of the Wantong Chamber of Commerce located in the transforming Star City. Mission 7024. Please. After the black-clothed and bamboo hat man arrived at the mission submission area, he spoke in a fake voice. At the same time, he flashed his mission card and followed a messenger in. The target didn't come out of the 7 Stars Grotto Heaven. According to the speculations of the sect master and elders, he should have opened the 4th level of the 7 Stars Grotto Heaven and advanced to the Golden Core Realm. Oh. Had the 4th level of the 7 Stars Grotto Heaven opened? Are you sure? I'm sure. The 7 Stars Grotto Heaven would be closed for 3 months. But now, March had passed. 3 of them didn't come out. I obtained this information from the disciples who entered the 7 Stars Grotto Heaven. Other than the target, who else is there? This isn't part of the mission, is it? Ha! Our Wantong Chamber of Commerce has always been fair. Any information will have a corresponding value with you. It's just that the news will spread sooner or later. If we spread it earlier, we'll be able to exchange it for enough rewards. What do you think? The black-clothed man fell silent for a moment before he said, besides the target, there's also his Dao companion, Tan Tai Lien, and Yi Wendao. However, Tan Tai Lien should have been killed by Yi Wendao. There was a high chance that Yi Wendao would die at the hands of the target. This was the conclusion that the sect master and Grand Supreme Elder came to after capturing the 3 people's auras. As for when he would be able to come out of the 7 Stars Grotto Heaven, he could not be sure for now. The sect master and the others don't know much about the situation on the 4th floor either. We can only wait. Phew. Impressive, the old man exhaled and said. Although the man in black didn't explain, the old man was able to understand the whole story from his words. Inwardly, he was quite surprised by his target's rapid growth and combat strength. This was not much inferior to some of the genius disciples of the high-ranking sections. Before the target comes out, I won't report to you. Alright. This is the reward for this trip. The black bamboo hat man took the unexpected revenge with satisfaction and quickly disappeared from the Wantong Chamber of Commerce. After walking out of the Huaxing City, he flew for thousands of miles towards the desolate mountain range. After making sure that no one was following him, he put on the star-picking robe of the Picking Stars sect's disciple and took off his bamboo hat. This person was none other than an outer disciple of the Starsizer sect, Kai Jin. And the mission he accepted was to report Chen Hao's every move at all times. As for who had paid such a high price to post the mission in the Wantong Chamber of Commerce, he could guess that it was Fan Feng of the 6th grade sect, the Sword Sect. Die! Boom! A demonic beast at the peak of the late-stage Golden Elixir realm, whose body was like a small mountain, was crushed into meat paste by a true essence giant hand. After killing the demon beast, the youth quickly took out a black token that emitted fluctuations. Is he out? The youth's face flashed with intense killing intent as his consciousness entered the token. What? The 4th level of the 7-star Grotto Heaven? The Golden Core Realm? A trace of shock flashed in the youth's cold eyes. Humph. That's better. Now that you've entered the Golden Core Realm, I'd like to see if you'll still hide in the Picking Stars sect. I've missed my chance once, but I won't let you escape this time. This youth was none other than Fan Fong. At this moment, he was cultivating deep in the mountains that were relatively close to the picking stars sect so that he could arrive in time after receiving the news. It's been 4 months, the night sky was clear and silent. Sitting cross-legged, Tan Tai Lien slowly opened her eyes and murmured as a powerful aura emanated from her body. I've already reached the peak of the mid-stage Golden Core realm. I wonder how he's doing. Tan Tai Lien looked into the distance and bit her lip. Although she felt embarrassed, she still flew quickly in the direction of Chen Hao. In these 4 months, Chen Hao had not come to see her even once. It was fine when he was immersed in cultivation, but when he woke up, Tan Tai Lien felt wronged and even uneasy. After experiencing the true fusion of yin and yang, she was already his Tao partner. Was she not attractive to him at all? Under the starlight, energy surged. Chen Hao's clothes fluttered and his figure drifted. Sometimes it was like moving clouds and flowing water, sometimes it was erratic. He did not have a sword in his hand, but when he pointed a finger, sword chi surged. His body and mind seemed to be completely immersed in cultivation. Tan Tai Lien silently appeared a few hundred feet away from Chen Hao, not daring to come any closer. She stared blankly at Chen Hao. The aura of a peak early-stage Golden Core realm cultivator. But the power he displayed made Tan Tai Lien's heart palpitate. Not to mention that she could not lock onto his figure, she could feel a dangerous aura from any of Chen Hao's fingers. Gradually, Tan Tai Lien, who was observing carefully, suddenly realized that Chen Hao's figure had slowed down. At this moment, she suddenly realized that Chen Hao's figure was not completely untraceable. Instead, he was stepping on 7 points in a very regular pattern. 7 points. Tan Tai Lien suddenly looked up at the void and at the 7 stars. Surprisingly, Chen Hao's trajectory was exactly the same as the structure of the 7 stars. You came just in time. Little Lien, come here. Just as Tan Tai Lien was in a daze, Chen Hao waved his hand and sent out a beam of energy. It instantly swept out a few hundred feet and enveloped Tan Tai Lien. Hiss. Tan Tai Lien did not know what was going on, but she followed Chen Hao's energy and came to his side at lightning speed. Lend me your energy. Use all your strength. Chen Hao did not explain and directly held Tan Tai Lien's soft hand. Their fingers interlocked and their palms faced each other. Boom. With the fusion of yin and yang, Chen Hao was very clear about Tan Tai Lien's energy. With a thought, with Tan Tai Lien's active cooperation, her energy immediately surged into Chen Hao's body. Whoosh! At this moment, Chen Hao's speed suddenly increased countless times. He turned into a series of afterimages and stepped on the positions of the 7 stars. The aura around him became stronger and stronger as his speed soared. 7-star sword finger. Chen Hao poked the sky with his finger. Hiss. The sharp wind seemed to have pierced through the shackles of space and the endless darkness. With a speed that could pierce through heaven and earth, it rushed towards the stars hanging high in the void. At this moment, Tan Tai Lien felt that her energy had been sucked dry by Chen Hao. She was so weak that she felt dizzy. However, her eyes were filled with extreme shock. She looked at the finger that was about to pierce through the heavens and exuded an extremely sharp and mysterious aura. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook. Within a radius of 1,000 feet, endless energy crazily gathered towards the sword finger that Chen Hao had sent out. It borrowed the power of heaven and earth to perform thousands of supernatural powers. The sword finger that seemed to be tearing through the void did not weaken at all as it rushed towards the stars. Instead, it emitted more and more resplendent and condensed light. Moreover, it was expanding at an astonishing speed. From a small finger to a huge finger that was as big as a mountain, it was still growing crazily. Break for me. After several tens of seconds had passed, Chen Hao let out a cold shout. He withdrew and released, causing the terrifying sword fingers to explode from an unknown distance away. Rumble. It was like divine lightning from the 9 heavens had exploded in the pitch-black night sky. At the same time, the 7 stars that were so far away that they couldn't reach suddenly emitted an incomparably bright light. Immediately, it condensed into a pillar of light that was like the Milky Way of the 9 heavens. It poured down and covered Chen Hao and Tan Tai Lien. Chen Hao, who was paler and weaker than Tan Tai Lien, smiled with excitement. He held Tan Tai Lien's slender waist tightly with one hand. Hiss! Tan Tai Lien felt that the space was distorted. When she regained her vision, she and Chen Hao had already appeared in a huge palace. What is this place? At this moment, Tan Tai Lien looked at Chen Hao, who was holding her waist, and asked in shock. 7 Stars Palace. Fortunately, you came in time, otherwise, it would have been ruined. 4 months of time, can you really endure it? Chen Hao smiled faintly with a trace of evil charm as he stared at Tan Tai Lien and spoke as if he was implying something. Even you can hold it in, why can't I? Tan Tai Lien opened her mouth and said. However, as soon as she finished speaking, her face suddenly turned red. She said, what are you talking about, rogue? Okay. There is not much time. There is only 1 day. We have to search quickly. Chen Hao did not continue this topic. He, who had tasted the forbidden fruit for the first time, had already taken the first step. Of course, he would not refuse the speed of cultivation brought by dual cultivation. However, in these 4 months, he had no time to spare. After completing the first fusion with Tan Tai Lien, the 2 of them comprehended and cultivated separately. However, he was naturally in a magical formation under the starlight. He also obtained the information in it. The 7 stars alignment formation. Only by comprehending the first level of the 7 stars sword finger, could he leave the formation. If he could use the 7 stars sword finger to break the formation, he would be able to connect the 7 stars, break the shackles of the 7 stars, and step into the core treasury of the 7 stars cave heaven. The 7 stars alignment formation was more complicated than Chen Hao had imagined. Chen Hao tried to break it by breaking the formation, but he could not do it at all. In the past 4 months, when Tan Tai Lien arrived, he had only just comprehended the 7-star sword finger and was able to walk out of the formation. When he was about to find Tan Tai Lien could not hold it in and came to find him. Is this the inheritance of the 7 stars cave heaven? Tan Tai Lien asked. It is the treasury. The 7 stars cave heaven has a subtle connection with the thousands of mountains of the Jiaxing sect. It is just a forbidden place for cultivation, not an inheritance site. I think it was condensed by an ancient powerful person. There should be a lot of good things in this palace. Chen Hao was explaining when suddenly, a mysterious aura exploded in the palace without warning and shrouded the 2 of them. First update. Monthly ticket, recommendation ticket, subscription. Thank you. Chapter 237. At the same time, 2 mysterious messages appeared in the minds of Chen Hao and Tan Tai Lien at the same time. 2 bright starlights separated them and shrouded them. A test? What a magical light! Chen Hao was surprised. Before he could think further, the scene in front of him changed. What rich and pure energy! No, it's true essence, pure true essence. In 2 separate spaces, Chen Hao and Tan Tai Lien were shocked. Originally, the energy in the 7 stars grotto heaven was already incredibly dense and pure. But now, under the bright starlight, the 2 of them who couldn't even see clearly felt that the entire space was filled with quintessential essence that could be absorbed without spending much effort to refine it. However, Chen Hao and Tan Tai Lien did not start cultivating. The information they received was that they had entered the test of the 7 stars cave. There shouldn't be any danger. Since it's a test, I'll determine what I can get based on the results. It's the same for Xiaoyan. Chen Hao thought to himself. His eyes were shining, but he could not see an inch in front of him. He could only see the bright starlight. Dubhe formation. It's not difficult for me. It's really similar to the Taoist 7 stars sword formation. Chen Hao thought to himself. Before entering the Seven Stars Cave Heaven, Chen Hao had encountered the Seven Stars Alignment Formation. He was sure that the Seven Stars Cave Heaven was similar to the Taoist's Seven Stars Sword Formation recorded in the Taoist's Secret Essentials. If not, Chen Hao would not have been able to comprehend the Seven Stars Sword Finger in just 4 months. He would not have had the chance to come here. Taking a deep breath, Chen Hao sat cross-legged and immersed himself in comprehension. After an entire 2 hours, Chen Hao's eyes flickered with a bright light as he pointed out with his finger. Hiss! A strange wave came. The vigorous and sharp sword finger merged into a round crystal that Chen Hao could not see but could sense. At the same time, the air that was completely composed of true essence began to shake violently. The bright starlight in the entire space suddenly dimmed, as if it had gathered together. As Chen Hao recovered his vision, a figure composed entirely of starlight appeared in front of him. This figure held a sword in his hand. His figure was tall and straight, and his entire body was golden like the color of the stars. His eyes were shining with incomparably sharp sword intent. He didn't give Chen Hao any time to think and slashed his sword at Chen Hao. Late-stage Golden Core Realm Strength? Chen Hao's sharp soul perception spread out. He wasn't alarmed, but rather delighted. After stepping into the Golden Core Realm, he was no different from before the Congenital Realm. His monstrous and abnormal physique caused his advancement to still be many times more difficult than others. In the past 4 months, although he had been immersed in the 7-star alignment and comprehended the 7-star finger sword, it was also cultivation. Moreover, he had been constantly refining his golden core. However, he had barely reached the peak of the early-stage Golden Core realm. Compared to Tantile Yen, who had reached the peak of the middle-stage Golden Core realm, there was a huge gap. However, the reason why he was pleasantly surprised was that Chen Hao had learned from the information that the energy figure that appeared at this moment was completely based on his combat strength. This meant that he had the combat strength of a late-stage Golden Core realm expert. Breaking the Dubhe star of the 7 stars, which was also the Dubhe formation, was not difficult for Chen Hao. He had done it in 2 hours. However, to truly break it, he had to defeat the figure in front of him. This was a trial and a test. He had to kill this figure in order to enter the next level. Clang! The 5 elements sword suddenly came out of its sheath. Chen Hao brazenly faced the terrifying sword light. A quarter of an hour later, Chen Hao's solitary sword incantation cut off the head of the star-colored energy man with no special moves. The Dubhe formation was broken. Starlight appeared again. The surrounding space fluctuated, and the pattern had obviously changed. Chen Hao knew that the second formation, the Tianxian formation, had been activated. Tantile Yen, who was in another independent space, was not as relaxed as Chen Hao. When Chen Hao entered the Tianxian formation, she was still sitting cross-legged in the Dubhe formation, sending out streams of stored energy to sense the mystery of the Dubhe formation. Unfortunately, in such a short time, she could not make any progress at all. Similarly, in less than 2 hours, Chen Hao once again comprehended the mystery of the Merak formation. But this time, there were 2 golden energy men in the same realm, both at the late stage of the gold elixir realm. But the attacks launched by the 2 complemented each other, containing the mystery of the Dubhe formation and the Merak formation respectively. Moreover, the attacks launched by the 2 were a combination attack, which multiplied their combat capabilities several times. Within 3 moves, Chen Hao was seriously injured, and the 2 golden energy figures disappeared directly. Chen Hao returned to the Tianxian formation again. Obviously, he had failed the test this time. This is only the second formation, and it's already so powerful. It seems that it will take me a long time to break through the 7th formation, Chen Hao thought to himself in shock. This failure was not a real failure. There was no real failure in this test. It would only be considered a real failure if one died of old age here. Even if the next time the 7 stars grotto heaven opened, one would not be ejected before passing through the 7th formation. This was the information he had obtained after entering the 7 Stars Hall. If he had known this, Qin Hao would not have foolishly carried Tan Taoyuan in. He wasn't worried about himself because he was confident that he would succeed. He had the Taoist's 7 stars formation as a reference. Moreover, he was extremely intelligent and definitely not someone Tan Taoyuan could compare to. Qin Hao was quite confident about this. It was also because of this that he could successfully comprehend the mysteries of the formation. The time he saved was not small. But what about Tan Taoyuan? However, it was useless to worry now. Such a mysterious and magical space was not something that Qin Hao could forcefully break through. If Tan Taoyuan wanted to walk out, she could only rely on herself. This was an opportunity for her, and also a challenge. After taking a deep breath, Qin Hao was not in a hurry to activate the life gate of the formation again to activate the golden energy figures. Instead, he immersed himself in cultivation and comprehension. The 3 moves that the 2 golden energy figures had made just now were clearly replaying in slow motion in Qin Hao's mind. 4 hours later, he challenged again. 6 moves, Qin Hao was defeated. 8 hours later, 12 moves, Qin Hao was defeated. 3 days later, 100 moves, Qin Hao was defeated. As the number of moves increased, Qin Hao found the feeling of fighting to his heart's content. Moreover, he was defeated with serious injuries every time, and it was not fatal. Obviously, this was the bottom line of the test. It would not take one's life. There was no doubt that this was the best cultivation environment for Qin Hao. The only drawback was that there was a lack of variation. This was because the 2 golden men's attacks always started at the same time. Even the order of their moves was not messed up. However, Qin Hao had to fall into their rhythm every time. 5 days later, the 2 golden energy figures tumbled to the ground under Qin Hao's sharp sword light. Qin Hao finally passed the Merak formation and stepped into the 3rd Tianji formation. There were 3 golden energy figures, and each of them was still at the late-stage golden core realm. However, the integration of the 3 Tianji formation made the combined attack of the 3 golden energy figures even more terrifying and perfect. For the first time, Qin Hao was defeated with just 1 move. Qin Hao's arrogant and persistent character had completely fused into this sort of extremely challenging tempering of battle. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Jiaxing Peak, where the 7-star grotto heaven runes appeared. During this month, there was always an inner sect elder standing guard. Today, the Jiaxing sect's sect master, Yuan Tairan, and all the inner and outer sect elders gathered again. Only Wu Zichuan was not present. This was because the biennial 100 Empire ranking was already in the preparation stage. This time, the Jiaxing sect had tasted the sweetness of the 100 Empire ranking and brought luck. Naturally, the Jiaxing sect would take action again. He had already brought several inner sect disciples and rushed to the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce to discuss. If the 4th level appeared as they had speculated, then Qin Hao would come out in a month's time. However, Yuan Tairan and the others waited for an entire day, but there was no movement. However, they were not disappointed. Instead, they were looking forward to it. The longer they waited, the greater the benefits. This was obvious. Who would not be happy? The only one who was ambiguous was Meng Langang. This was because he knew that Yuandao's chances of survival were not high. The 2nd month, the 3rd month, the 4th month, how could this be? On Jiaxing Peak, Yuan Tairan and the 6 Grand Elders frowned and gave up on sensing. No one had expected such an outcome. In the 2nd month, they were still able to maintain their composure and were pleasantly surprised. In the 3rd month, they were still able to maintain their composure but began to worry. In the 4th month, when the 7-star grotto heaven was about to open again in a month's time, Yuan Tairan and the others could no longer remain calm. This was because the 7-star grotto heaven would open again in a month's time. What did this mean? According to the rules of all historical legacies and special spaces, opening again meant a new cycle. If the person who entered last time did not come out, there was only one possibility: death. Left with no choice, Yuan Tairan and the other elders could only invite the 6 Grand Elders to come out and sense Qin Hao's aura once again. However, What shocked everyone was that they could not sense Qinhao's aura this time. A month later, the 7-star grotto heaven opened again. Although they could no longer sense Qinhao's aura on the 4th level, they had successfully locked onto him last time, allowing the 4th level of the 7-star grotto heaven to open. The 30 disciples below the Khanate realm were still determined according to the previous arena battles. Yang Fan, Li Yifeng, and Ni Jianpain were among the low-level disciples. However, the 3 of them did not look excited. Instead, they were frowning. The news had spread that Qinhao and Tantai Lian might have died in the 7-star grotto heaven. The disciples who were selected to enter the 4th level were all at the peak of the late-stage Golden Core realm, but they were not the top 10 inner sect disciples. Instead, they were the young disciples who had the absolute advantage in terms of talent, comprehension, and combat strength. They were also the super geniuses who had the highest chance of successfully advancing to the nascent soul realm and becoming a core disciple. After the first 3 levels of disciples entered the 7-star grotto heaven, the 4th level opened. 10 disciples stepped into the rune with solemn expressions. Remember, no one is allowed to kill each other. Come out alive. If one of you dies, even if you come out, you will all be killed without mercy. Remember, all of you. P.S. I'm scratching my head. I'm stuck. I've been holding back since last night and have only published 2 chapters, before 12 o'clock. I'll definitely finish 3 chapters. Fortunately, I didn't make a promise yesterday. Otherwise, I would have broken my promise. I didn't dare to make a promise because I'm afraid of encountering a situation where I'm stuck. Chapter 238. Yuan Tairan had no choice but to set this rule. The deaths of Qinhao, Tantai Lian, and Yuan Dao made his heart bleed. The only thing worth celebrating was that the 4th level was finally opened. However, they knew nothing about the so-called 4th level. They could only wait for the new disciples to come out before they could know the details. Did they all die because of killing each other, or was there something else going on in the 4th level? Kai Jin's mission from the Myriad Channel's Chamber of Commerce came to an end. He did not receive the highest reward, but Kai Jin was very excited. Qinhao's death made him excited. Without Qinhao, he could have entered the 7-star grotto heaven last year. However, Qinhao made him fail at the last step. He could not even recover the loss of suppressing his cultivation base for half a year. After confirming that Qinhao had died in the 7-star grotto heaven, how could he not be happy? As for Fan Fang, who had painstakingly cultivated in the mountains not far from the star-picking sect, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. The 2 people he hated the most had died in the 7-star grotto heaven. What could he do? What a dense heaven and earth spirit chi. It's not true essence. True essence. 7-star. It's actually 7 stars. What's going on? 7 months, there's actually 7 months. That's great. After the 10 inner sect disciples stepped into the 7-star grotto heaven, they were immediately filled with shock and joy. No one expected the 7-star grotto heaven to be so powerful. They also did not expect that it was not the so-called 1 star, but 7 stars. They also did not expect that the information they received in an instant was that they could stay in there for a full 7 months. This was a full 4 months longer than the 1st level to the 3rd level. Qin Jun, is that you? It's me. Zhao Qin. Yes. It's true. It seems that the 10 of us are really in the same space. No wonder Qinhao, Yuan Dao, and Tantai Lian died here. They must have killed each other. Phew. Fortunately, the sect leaders set the rules. Otherwise, I'll be in danger. Chen Jun said. Among the 10 people who came in this time, Mo Xiaocong, who was the strongest, was his enemy. In the past, their strength was on par, but this time, Mo Xiaocong, who returned from the 7 stars cave heaven, had obtained some kind of opportunity and advanced to the late-stage gold core realm. He was definitely not someone he could compete with. There was no doubt that if it weren't for Yuan Tyran's rule, he would have died here. Hurry up and cultivate. In 7 months, with such pure quintessential essence, it is possible for you to step into the late golden core stage. At best, he could only raise his cultivation to the peak of the late-stage golden core realm. Even if he couldn't win in a fight, he wouldn't have to be afraid of him outside. He won't dare to kill you here, or we'll all die. The sect master has always been a man of his word. He would never just threaten you. Yes. We put some distance between us. Let's begin. 3 months later. 30 outer sect disciples were ejected from the 7 stars grotto heaven one after another. With their improvements, Yuan Tyran and company finally revealed a smile. Their gains were even greater than Qin Hao's batch of disciples last year. Although the new geniuses were still inferior to Qin Hao and Yuan Dao, they were beginning to stand out, which comforted everyone. Although the cultivation of these disciples was like an ant in front of them, they symbolized the future of the sect and had to be taken seriously. However, none of the 10 inner sect disciples who entered the 4th level came out. It had to be said that the unknown was terrifying. Now, everyone was most worried that the 10 inner sect disciples would end up like Qin Hao and the other 2. Then, the 4th level would no longer be a holy land for cultivation, but a land of death. They didn't come out for the 4th month, and still didn't come out for the 5th month. At this time, Yuan Tyran and company could no longer sit still. Once again, they asked the Grand Elder to check on the 10 inner sect disciples. To everyone's relief, the auras of the 10 inner sect disciples could be captured and easily locked onto. As for when they would come out, it was impossible for everyone to wait here. 1 year and 6.5 months. Excluding the 3 months spent on the 3rd level and the 4 months spent in the 7 stars alignment, Qin Hao had stayed in the 7 stars hall for a total of 11 months and 15 days. Qin Hao had passed the Dubhe, Merak, Fekta, Migres, Alioth, and Mizar arrays. Only the last array, the Alkade array, was left. He had stayed in the Alkade array for a total of 6 months. He had already comprehended the array, but the difficulty was the 7 golden men at the peak of the late-stage golden core realm. Qin Hao had already stepped into the mid-stage golden core realm, and the golden men had also advanced along with him to the peak of the late-stage golden core realm. Moreover, all the golden men's realms had advanced. In addition, the 7 golden men had completely formed the 7 stars array. Qin Hao couldn't find any flaws at all, and the attacks were endless. Qin Hao had lost count of how many times he had failed. Phew. Qin Hao, who was sitting cross-legged, let out a long sigh and slowly opened his eyes. The 2 sharp sword lights seemed to be substantial, and what was more shocking was that the essence chi emitted from the top of his head contained a sword essence that could pierce the sky. Swordsman. There was no doubt that the sword essence emitted by the swordsman was many times more powerful than that of Moue. I actually comprehended sword essence. I should be able to succeed, right? Qin Hao said lightly with a hint of surprise. After being trapped here for nearly a year, even Qin Hao didn't expect that the Alkade array would be so powerful after turning into the 7 golden men. The first 6 arrays had only taken him 5.5 months, but the last array had taken him half a year. Until now, he hadn't defeated the 7 golden men. Sword essence, swordsman, I don't pursue it. Strictly speaking, the sword Dao isn't even my main cultivation, but I can comprehend it. It seems that it should be the credit of the solitary sword technique. My attack power should be increased by at least 40%, right? Sensing that the energy in his body had become more condensed under the stimulation of sword essence, and that each strand of vital essence contained an invincible will, Qin Hao thought to himself, and his confidence became stronger and stronger. The 7 golden men, the peak of the late-stage gold elixir realm was their limit, and above that was the nascent soul realm. Although Qin Hao was abnormal, he didn't have the ability to defeat a nascent soul realm master. Qin Hao had now stepped into the middle-stage gold elixir realm, and killing any golden man was no problem. However, when the 7 golden men joined forces, it was a 7 stars array with almost no flaws, and the energy was the same. The power it exerted was definitely not as simple as 7 late-stage gold elixir realm masters. Otherwise, Chen Hao would have been able to defeat them long ago. Chen Hao slowly stood up, his figure as straight as a sword. With a clang, he directly unsheathed his sword, and a sword light immediately merged into the crystal ball of the Alcade array. Swoosh! 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 7 golden men with terrifying auras suddenly appeared in front of Chen Hao, and with a swoosh, they surrounded Chen Hao. Solitary sword art. Without any hesitation, Chen Hao swung his sword and stabbed out. Streaks of incomparably sharp light spread out, and the entire space was shrouded under sword essence. The sword light was like lightning, and the sword was merciless. Chen Hao's expression was as solemn as a mountain and calm as an ancient well, as if he didn't reveal any emotions. There was only a ruthless sharpness, and it also contained a murderous aura that only Yu Wendao had, as if he wanted to kill everything in front of him. Swoosh! Swoosh! In an instant, streaks of sword light that seemed to tear through space attacked one of the 7 golden men at the same time. It was unbelievably fast, and what was even more terrifying was that all the attacks were on one point, and there was no spectacular momentum, but, for the first time in 6 months, Chen Hao broke through the powerful defense of the 7 golden men, which had instantly condensed their energy into one. Bang! The forehead of one of the golden men was directly penetrated, and with a swoosh, it dissipated into nothingness like golden powder. The remaining 6 golden men were instantly defeated. Under Chen Hao's sharp sword light, it was like cutting melons and vegetables, and it only took 1 minute for the battle to end. With one less, the combat strength of the 6 golden men was no threat at all. This was the biggest weakness of the combined formation attack, and not a single one could be missing. Chen Hao could easily kill the 6 golden men half a year ago. It's finally broken. No wonder real swordsmen are so popular. I've only just comprehended sword essence, and it's already so powerful. Chen Hao said with a trace of excitement. The terror of sword essence was beyond his imagination. Hiss! The space was distorted, and the Alcade formation finally collapsed. A huge circular room appeared in front of Chen Hao. It was 1,000 feet in diameter, and the circular floor was divided into 7 pieces. Each piece was different in color, and they were covered with runes that could operate independently and connect as a whole. It was the 7-layer formation that Chen Hao broke through. In the center of the circle stood a cylindrical platform, and on the platform were 4 jade slips that exuded an ancient aura. Secret manuals of absolute arts. Chen Hao's heart skipped a beat, and he was slightly disappointed. What he yearned for the most was not secret manuals of absolute arts, but precious things like elixirs and miraculous medicines, but he had no choice. Obviously, this was his reward. 7 stars sword technique, 7 stars finger sword, 7 stars footwork, 7 stars sutra. It's actually a combination of absolute arts. Thank goodness. After Chen Hao saw the immortal names on the 4 jade slips, a trace of relief appeared on his face, and he directly put them into the storage space. At this moment, a beam of light appeared out of thin air and covered Chen Hao. I'm afraid Xiao Yan still needs a long time. The moment his figure disappeared, Chen Hao thought to himself. He had a subtle thought. However, he immediately cut it off. This was definitely a good thing for Tantai Lien. It was such a sacred cultivation ground, and there were golden men to fight. When Tantai Lien came out, she would definitely have an astonishing improvement. Chen Hao knew that it was not necessarily a good thing for him to come out so quickly. If he cultivated slowly, he would definitely be able to steadily improve. At least, it would be better than cultivating in the star-picking sect. Even if he went out to train, it would be better to stay there if he did not have great opportunities and luck. However, Chen Hao did not deliberately care about this. If he could do it, he would do it. Let nature take its course. An inner sect elder guarding the rune of the star-picking peak 7 stars grotto heaven suddenly sensed a mysterious aura fluctuation and immediately opened his eyes. A bright light rose. Ever since the outer sect disciples returned, they had been waiting for 3.5 months. She's finally coming out. The inner sect elder's face flashed with excitement. With a thought, he immediately sent out a message. As soon as he sent out the message, the elder's expression changed drastically, and his eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. Third update. Third update today. Chapter 239. Disciple Chen Hao pays his respects to fourth elder. This elder was Elder Li, who was in charge of the welfare of the star-picking sect. He was Li Hong, ranked fourth among the inner sect elders. Chen Hao saw the fourth elder's shocked expression and did not find it strange. He smiled and cupped his fists in greeting. This. Chen Hao. Are you really Chen Hao? Li Hong's expression carried a trace of excitement, but he still asked in disbelief. Yes. Chen Hao. Ah. How is this possible? Is this real? At this moment, Yuan Tairan and the others, who had received Li Hong's message, rushed over as fast as lightning when the mysterious rune emitted its aura. When they saw Chen Hao, they were extremely shocked. Good, good. Chen Hao, quickly tell us, what's going on in the fourth level? Why did you take so long to come out? Tell us the details. Even Yuan Tairan could not control his excitement and asked impatiently. Yes, Chen Hao replied and calmly explained the situation after entering the 7-star space. He did not omit anything, including the 7-star Pearl Array and the 7 Stars Palace. 7 Stars Palace, quintessential essence space. No wonder we could not lock onto your aura. So that's why. Chen Hao, are Tan Tai Lian and Yuan Dao? Yuan Tairan asked. Little Lian is still in the 7 Stars Palace. It will probably take some time for her to come out. Chen Hao said. What? Are you sure? Yuan Tairan asked in shock. The others were also shocked. Yes. She will probably take some time. Chen Hao said calmly. Chen Hao could sense something strange from everyone's gazes, especially Meng Langang. Coupled with Yuan Tairan's words about locking onto their auras, Chen Hao already knew what was going on. Strange, why couldn't I sense Tan Tai Lian and Yuan Dao's auras? Did you see Yuan Dao? Yuan Tairan asked. Since Tan Tai Lian was still alive, it meant that their speculations were completely wrong. Yes, Chen Hao said. Where is he? Are you still in the 7 Stars Palace? Meng Dagang asked anxiously. Chen Hao shook his head and exuded a fierce aura. He said, I killed him. The sect leader was unable to lock onto Xiaolian's aura because Xiaolian had almost died in Yuan Dao's hands. To be more precise, she had already died in Yuan Dao's hands. Fortunately, Xiaolian has the inheritance of the phoenix, so she was able to escape. This matter is over. Yuan Tairan interrupted Meng Langang and looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao, your mountain peak has already been prepared for you. You can enjoy the treatment of a core disciple. You should have comprehended quite a bit in the past year. Go back and cultivate in seclusion. Thank you, Sovereign. Unbelievable. Senior brother Chen Hao came back alive, yeah, and he has even reached the mid-stage of the Golden Core realm. Tan Tai Lian isn't dead either. She's still in the 7 Stars Palace. The information released by the sect didn't mention Yuan Dao. I'm afraid the rumors are the same. He must have died in the hands of senior brother Chen Hao. Damn it, Jijun, I'm afraid we're in trouble. What's there to be afraid of? Isn't it just stealing Li Yifeng's woman? We'll restrain ourselves in the future. It's not a big deal. Chen Hao won't do anything to us because of this. Besides, it's time for us to find a backer. You and I are ranked first and second among the low-ranked disciples. As long as we can enter the top 10 among the mid-ranked disciples, it won't be a problem for us to join senior brother Long Yukong's faction. That's true. Senior brother Long Yukong is ranked first among the core disciples. As long as we're qualified to join his faction, it won't be a problem. There are still 5 months left. Let's go out and train. We'll come back on the last day of the 7 Stars Palace. 4 hours later, all the outer, inner, and core disciples of the star-picking sect were in an uproar. This was because news of Chen Hao's return from the 7 Stars Palace had been released through the sect's token. Chen Hao's Peak, which was named after Chen Hao, was also officially opened. The nearby hills had become Chen Hao's Peak. Without Chen Hao's permission, no one was allowed to cultivate there. The disciples who were training outside also received news of Chen Hao's return through the token. Yi Feishue and the rest were naturally surprised. When Elder Wu and Dong Fangting received the news, they were obviously even more excited. However, when they received a personal message from the sovereign that Chen Hao was coming to the 100 Empire ranking, both of them frowned. As for Li Long, who was training outside, after receiving the news, he didn't say a word and used his fastest speed to go to the Wantong Merchant Association. After Chen Hao returned to his own peak, he went to find Yang Fan, Li Yifeng, and Ni Jianping before the sect sent out the news. The 3 of them were naturally excited to see that Chen Hao had returned alive. Chen Hao, who enjoyed the treatment of a core disciple, allowed the 3 of them to stay in his peak. Core disciples had the right to cultivate their own forces. The peak that was specially prepared for Chen Hao had already attracted the jealousy of many core disciples. Regardless of the location of the peak, the palace built, or the condensed array, it was ranked at the top among the core disciples. The 4 of them drank and chatted until late at night. When Yang Fan and the other 2 returned to their new palace, Chen Hao turned into a stream of light and flew silently to the star-picking peak. Just as he reached the entrance of the star-picking peak, an invisible energy welcomed Chen Hao in. Yuan Tairan had been waiting for a long time. He stared at Chen Hao and asked with a smile, "Have a seat. What's the matter that you want to talk to me alone?" Today, before Chen Hao left, he sent a voice transmission to say that he would visit him at night. "Sect Master, I want to go take a look at the 100 Empire rankings." Chen Hao sat down and said in a low voice. 100 Empire rankings? What for? My friends should have made it into the 100 Empire rankings. I want to pull them to the star-picking sect. Chen Hao said. It had been a year and 10 months since he stepped into the star-picking sect. The biennial 100 Empire rankings was about to reach the final 100 Empire rankings battle. Of course, Chen Hao would remember. In fact, this was one of the main reasons why he broke through so many levels in the 7 Stars Hall. Oh. That's a simple matter. You just need to tell me your name and I'll send a message to Elder Wu. As long as they don't mind our star-picking sect's low grade, there won't be a problem. I want to go personally and train at the same time. Chen Hao said. Upon hearing Chen Hao's words, Yuan Tairan frowned slightly and said, "You're only at the mid-stage Golden Core realm now. If Fan Fong finds out about your training, it'll be very dangerous. He's already a half-step nascent soul realm cultivator and can trigger the heavenly Dao law at any time to ascend to the nascent soul realm. I can't hide in the sect forever just because of him. Moreover, I need to train. The eastern continent is vast and boundless. It won't be easy for him to find me. I'll sneak out and announce that I'm in seclusion. As long as he's not at the nascent soul realm, he won't be able to do anything to me." Chen Hao said confidently and resolutely. You mean to go take a look at the 100 Empire rankings and start training right away? Yes. If that's the case, then you can go. This year's 100 Empire rankings battle is organized by the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. It's 1.3 million miles away from the star-picking sect. If you want to go, use the Chamber of Commerce's transportation array. Be careful. You're only at the mid-stage Golden Core realm. Yuan Tairan pondered for a moment but still agreed to Chen Hao's request. Understood, Chen Hao replied. When do you leave? Tomorrow. Chen Hao said. Wait a moment. Yuan Tairan said and disappeared in front of Chen Hao. A moment later, he took out a storage ring and said, "There are some primal crystal stones in here and 3 sets of Earth-class mid-grade absolute art jade slips. 1 set of sword techniques, 1 set of movement techniques, and 1 set of quenching true yuan. This is all I can give you. You'll have to rely on yourself for the rest. The world of cultivation is dangerous. Countless geniuses have fallen in training. Only true geniuses can stand out. Work hard." After Qin Hao left the star-picking peak, a figure silently came to the palace of the sect master, Yuan Tairan. It was the elder of imparting techniques. Whoosh! The next day, a stream of light streaked across the sky. Qin Hao stepped on a cloud and left the star-picking sect at lightning speed. He had truly stepped into the world of cultivation. 3 million miles isn't very far. There are still 2 months before the 100 Empire ranking competition begins. Since I'm out, there's no need to use the teleportation formation. Qin Hao thought to himself as he flew quickly in the void. A map of the eastern continent appeared in his mind. He was very clear about the rules of the world of cultivation. Of course, he would not forget his conflict with Fan Fong. However, it would not be in his character to stay in the star-picking sect forever just because of Fan Fong. Although Qin Hao had not tested his current combat strength, he believed that even if he could not defeat Fan Fong, he could at least survive. The star-picking sect was only a third-rank sect. He could be considered a super genius in the star-picking sect and was highly regarded by the sect master. However, compared to the geniuses in the world of cultivation, he was still at the bottom. If he wanted to improve quickly, he had to start training. So what if it was dangerous? Opportunity and danger went hand in hand. Whoosh! 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 Qin Hao increased his speed to the maximum. After entering the Golden Elixir realm, other than fighting the Golden Men, he did not have a real understanding of his speed and strength. After all, the Golden Men's combat strength was different from that of a cultivator. Their cooperation was perfect, but there was no change. After all, they lacked flexibility and flexibility. So fast, Qin Hao did not know that in the void, hundreds of miles away, a figure seemed to have merged with the world. His aura was completely restrained as he quietly followed him. After sensing Qin Hao's increasing speed, the figure was a little shocked. Even an advanced Golden Elixir realm expert would not be able to match this kid in terms of speed. The sect master is still the best. The figure murmured. It was the elder of imparting skills of the star-picking sect. Yuan Tairan's importance to Qin Hao was definitely beyond his and the other elders' imagination. It was even more unbelievable that he had sent him, the elder of imparting skills. This made him a little dissatisfied. But at this moment, Qin Hao displayed a speed that was completely beyond his level, which made him feel a little better. P.S. I'm very, very sorry. I was delayed by something today. It just so happens that there is a plot twist that needs to be carefully thought out, so I wrote it very slowly. Today is the first update. Everyone, please don't wait. Tomorrow, Dark Mountain will pay you back at midnight. Sorry. Chapter 240. Air Restricting Area. This should be the Dark Forest, right? 3 days later, Qin Hao was forced to land on a mountain. He stared at the scene in front of him and said in his mind. Behind him, there were mountains, green trees, and bright sunlight. It was full of vitality. However, after crossing the mountain in front of him, there were layers of fog, revealing a gloomy and dark aura. Yes. Master, the Dark Forest is 100,000 miles wide and nearly 1,000,000 miles long. It is the most suitable place for practitioners of the Gold Core realm to gain experience. There are many spiritual herbs with special effects, which are very valuable. Many rogue cultivators and sect disciples come here to gain experience. When I reached the peak of the Gold Core realm, I stayed here for 3 years. I got the concealment skill, an upper-class Earth rank unique skill, from a disciple of a 7th grade sect. Moreover, there are countless demonic beasts of the early Gold Core realm here. There are also many middle Gold Core realm demonic beasts, and few late Gold Core realm demonic beasts. Only the core area is suitable for you to gain experience with your battle strength, as long as you don't enter the core area. Ito Ta said respectfully. In the end, Chen Hao did not destroy his soul. This guy had rich experience in Jianghu. He should be of great help to Chen Hao, who was about to enter the cultivation world. Well, I will gain experience here for 2 months first. As he spoke, Chen Hao could already see several streaks of light entering the dark forest from a distance. Judging from their aura, they should be at the middle Gold Core realm. Chen Hao's body shook and he entered the dark forest. At first glance, there was gray fog everywhere. The air was filled with the strong aura of demonic beasts, which made Chen Hao feel a sense of oppression from the depths of his soul. The range of his perception was greatly restricted. It was less than 1/3 of the outside world. Just as Ito Ta said. Chen Hao had only gone more than 10 miles when he encountered dozens of demonic beasts of the early Gold Core realm. These demonic beasts were very smart. They sensed Chen Hao's aura and quickly avoided him. They did not even dare to approach him. Even so, Chen Hao took the initiative to attack and killed several demonic beasts. He felt no threat at all. Roar! After traveling 1,000 li, a peak late-stage golden core demonic beast exuding a terrifying aura blocked Chen Hao's path. 3-headed golden-crowned python. Finally, I've met a powerful one. Chen Hao stopped abruptly as excitement flashed in his eyes. Master, the 3-headed golden-crowned python is very fast and can use its demonic energy to fly. Its ultimate move is the poison origin tongue of the 3-headed golden-crowned python, which is as fast as lightning. Once one is touched by its tongue, one will be poisoned. The poison is so strong that even a nascent soul realm cultivator would be severely injured. If the poison isn't forced out in time, one will instantly rot into a pile of flesh. Okay. Chen Hao stood still on the spot, his eyes glittering as he stared at the 3-headed golden-crowned python. This beast was 20 zhang long and as thick as 3 people, it coiled up like a small hill. The scales on its body shone with a golden glow, emitting a metallic luster. Its 3 heads were held high, and its forked tongues flickered in and out of its 3 mouths, dripping with stinky saliva. Its 6 scarlet eyes stared at Chen Hao, as if it was looking at a prey that was within its grasp. Hiss! Hundreds of feet away, one of the heads of the 3-headed golden-crowned python suddenly spat out a putrid black fog at Chen Hao. Dragon subduing palm. Dubhe sword. Chen Hao stepped forward and struck out with his left palm. Immediately, he formed a sword with his right hand and attacked at the same time. A sharp sword radiance, carrying the mysterious aura of the Dubhe formation, followed closely behind the 18 dragons and shot towards the 3-headed golden-crowned python. Boom! The black fog was directly shattered by the dragon subduing palm. Chen Hao's sword radiance rushed towards the middle head of the 3-headed golden-crowned python like lightning. The 3-headed golden-crowned python let out a strange cry. Its coiled body suddenly uncoiled, and its tail, which was covered in golden scales, swept out horizontally. The small hill was flattened, and it swiftly collided with Chen Hao's sword light. Ding! Boom! Chen Hao's sword radiance only left a shallow mark on the scales before it was shattered. Amazing! Chen Hao was slightly surprised. This 3-headed golden-crowned python is much stronger than the Golden Man at the peak of the Golden Elixir realm. It can even block 90% of my attack. No wonder it didn't dodge like other low-level demonic beasts. Chen Hao's expression became serious as he looked at the dispersing poisonous fog that caused the surrounding plants to lose all their vitality. Clang! The 5 elements golden sword was unsheathed. A sharp sword intense soared into the sky. Chen Hao stabbed out. Puff! The scales were broken. Explode! With a boom, a huge hole appeared on the tail of the 3-headed golden-crowned python. Smelly blood spurted out. It was so painful that it let out a sharp roar. Its huge body rose into the air and coiled around Chen Hao like lightning. At the same time, it opened its 3 mouths and released an even more terrifying poisonous fog. Good boy, this 3-headed golden-crowned python is a demonic beast at the peak of the golden elixir realm. Its defense, speed, strength, and especially the poison it contains. Even a genius disciple at the peak of the golden elixir realm would be forced to retreat. He is only at the middle stage of the golden elixir realm. He is really bold. Come closer. Above the dark clouds, dozens of miles away, a figure's gaze seemed to penetrate the clouds and locked onto Chen Hao. When Chen Hao encountered the 3-headed golden-crowned python, he muttered to himself. After he finished speaking, he moved closer as fast as lightning, ready to attack at any time. This figure was the elder of imparting arts who had secretly followed him. Sword intent. This boy has also comprehended sword intent. When he saw Chen Hao break through the defense of the 3-headed golden-crowned python with his second sword, the elder of imparting arts was a little surprised. But when he saw that Chen Hao did not retreat in the face of the angry 3-headed golden-crowned python, he was immediately frightened. Without hesitation, his figure flashed and shot out as fast as lightning. Die for me. A huge hand suddenly appeared, carrying with it the power of heaven. In Chen Hao's surprise, it directly grabbed the 3 heads of the 3-headed golden-crowned python and dragged it into the air. Bang bang bang. With 3 explosions, flesh and blood splattered. Instant kill. Great Elder. Chen Hao frowned slightly. Looking at the figure that appeared in the air, he was very unhappy. His rising battle intent was forcibly cut off. Who would be happy? Boy, are you crazy? Did you not read the information that the sect gave you? This is a 3-headed golden-crowned python. Not to mention that you are only in the middle stage of the Aurus Core realm, even a peak late-stage Aurus Core realm cultivator would have to retreat. Nascent soul realm cultivators can only fight from a distance. You want to fight in close combat? Are you not courting death? That venom can instantly destroy your physical body. The elder of imparting skills stared at Chen Hao and said, with your experience, it's best that you don't train alone. Train with the experts in the sect for a period of time and increase your knowledge. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Great Elder, have you been following me? Chen Hao's expression was a little strange. He avoided the elder of imparting arts' words and asked in return. You are the rare genius of the Zhaixing sect. You have no experience, and with Fan Fong as your enemy, how could the sect leader let you go out alone? I should have known, damn it. Hearing the great elder's words, Chen Hao cursed gloomily in his heart. After a moment of silence, he said, Thank you for your concern, sect leader and great elder, but, if you do this, my training will be meaningless. Great Elder, please go back. The great elder frowned slightly. Of course, he knew what Chen Hao was thinking. This time, he had indeed acted too early. Moreover, Chen Hao obviously did not understand the power of the 3-colored golden-crowned python. Anyone would be displeased. But there was no other way. The 3-headed golden-crowned python's venom was too strong. If Chen Hao were to fight in close combat, even he would not be able to save Chen Hao in time. The situation this time is special. The 3-colored golden-crowned python must not be fought in close combat. If even the slightest touch of its venom, even I would not be able to save you. Otherwise, I would not have interrupted you. If I could avoid interfering, I would try my best not to interfere. Be careful. Take the 3-headed golden-crowned python's inner core and scales. After the great elder finished speaking, he disappeared in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao gloomily cut off the inner core and the huge snake skin and put them into his storage space. I have to shake him off. He's simply treating me like a bird. Since I'm fighting in close combat, I'll definitely be able to block the poison. Damn it. Chen Hao's valiant and spirited fighting spirit seemed to have been doused with a basin of cold water. He no longer had the mood to train as he spoke in his mind. It won't be easy to shake him off. He is the elder of the Zhaixing sect who has reached the peak of the incarnation realm. Unless you can cultivate my concealment technique to the peak, it won't be easy to shake him off. Actually, you don't have to worry too much. It's a good thing that he's here. This time, the reason he acted was because the three-headed golden-crowned python's venom was too strong. If I wanted to protect you, I would have done the same. Good thing my ass. With this soul shackle, how can it be called training? Shaking him off is easy. Chen Hao's face flashed with a hint of arrogance. His figure immediately turned into a stream of light and quickly fled towards the dark forest. At the same time, a mysterious rune suddenly rose from the storage space of the Xianhuang bracelet and covered the sect token. Everything that could be sensed had been sealed. The first elder was not old Xiao. Chen Hao could rely on his powerful soul and the ability to restrain his aura to avoid him. However, the current Chen Hao was also not the Chen Hao of the past. With the ability to restrain his aura, he believed that he could easily shake off the first elder. Who? His figure rapidly ran forward for 1,000 miles. Chen Hao did not hide his strength and directly displayed his terrifying strength. When he felt that the first elder should be a little more relaxed about him, he entered a cave and sat cross-legged to cultivate. Chen Hao was very clear that the first elder was sensing his aura and not looking at him. After condensing his aura and energy into a piece and using a simple energy sealing formation to prevent the energy from dissipating and his aura from dissipating, Chen Hao retracted all of his aura and merged with the heaven and earth. Like a gust of wind, he escaped from the cave. A cicada shedding its carapace. This spirit array should be able to last for 3 days. When Grand Elder discovers it, hee. Chen Hao's mouth carried a wisp of a complacent smile as he quietly headed in another direction, quickly and silently. First update. Chapter 241. Several hours later, Chen Hao, who did not carry any aura, passed through the dark forest like a gust of wind and avoided countless demon beasts at the peak of the late Golden Core stage. Chen Hao was sure that no matter how powerful the Grand Elder was, he could not lock onto his aura at a distance of nearly 10,000 miles. In front of him was an endless desert. There was no sign of life, and the sun was like fire. Without the restriction of the air restriction domain, Chen Hao rose into the air and increased his speed to the limit. Half a day later, Chen Hao flew at full speed for more than 10,000 miles and finally passed through the desert. Tall mountains and flowing water appeared in front of him, full of green and vitality. This should be the Swallow Dang mountain range. If I head southeast for another 10,000 miles, I'll reach the first city, Oasis City. I'll use Oasis City's teleportation formation to leave this place first. Chen Hao compared the terrain of the mountain range in front of him with the map in his mind. After determining his location, he once again increased his speed to the limit. Chen Hao, who was flying at high speed, suddenly stopped and frowned. His powerful soul perception caught several auras that instantly surrounded him and approached him at lightning speed. Suddenly, a hideous laugh sounded. The figures no longer hid their auras and surrounded Chen Hao like a giant bird spreading its wings. Kid, your senses are very sharp. Leave everything behind and we'll let you live. The leader stared at Chen Hao as if he was looking at a fat sheep. His aura was obviously at the late Golden Core stage. The other 5 had also reached the peak of the middle Golden Core stage. Want to rob me? Chen Hao's expression was calm and said without the slightest fear. The 6 people immediately laughed. The leader said, cut the crap. Hand it over yourself, or do you want us to do it? We've waited for 3 days and finally found one. Although he's a little thin, it's better than nothing. Ha! Boss, this kid has reached the middle Golden Core stage at such a young age. He must be a genius disciple of the sect. Don't talk nonsense with him. Just kill him. At this moment, another person said. These 6 people were rogue cultivators who roamed the world of cultivation and specialized in killing and robbing. The cultivators who were training in the dark forest would usually pass by this area and go to Oasis City to rest after their training. If they encountered a powerful team, they would naturally avoid them. However, they would not let off a lone wolf like Chen Hao. This was especially true for someone like Chen Hao, whose cultivation base was low. Moreover, it was obvious that he did not have any experience. He was definitely a fat lamb waiting to be slaughtered. With experience, who would dare to recklessly fly in the air in such a remote place? Leave your storage rings behind, break your own hands, and I'll spare your lives. Cut the crap. Chen Hao suddenly said coldly. What? This kid is crazy. Hiss. Puff. A beam of sword light appeared without warning. The expert at the peak of the middle stage gold core stage had no chance to resist at all. A fist-sized hole appeared in his throat. Before he could even scream, he fell directly from the void. What? The other 5 people, including the leader of the late-stage golden core cultivators, all exclaimed. Of death, of a man, brothers of the world, of the kill. Boom. Boom. Wind, heart-piercing blade. Fist shattering mountains and rivers. Leg conquering mountains and rivers. Frightened, the 5 people directly used their killing moves. They often did this kind of thing and had encountered many difficult opponents. Although they were frightened by the speed and strength of Chen Hao's sneak attack, Chen Hao was only in the middle of the golden core stage, and this was caused by underestimating the enemy. The leader of the golden core stage gathered all his strength in a punch. Coupled with the cooperation of the 4 brothers, he believed that he could definitely kill Chen Hao. But he did not expect that Chen Hao would slap out with his palm, and the 18 giant dragons instantly smashed the 5 people's joint attack. Danger. Having experienced countless battles, the 5 people instinctively felt a sense of danger that made their hair stand on end. Subconsciously, they activated their true essence and retreated quickly. But, puff. 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 You can't even withstand a single blow from an advanced golden core stage cultivator. How can such trash rob us? The 5 people who were on the verge of death heard Chen Hao's indifferent and disdainful voice and immediately lost consciousness. Master, you're too strong. With your combat power in the golden core stage, other than the genius disciples of the high-level sects, I'm afraid no one is your match. These guys are just ordinary itinerant cultivators. If you're at the peak of the middle of the golden core stage, they won't dare to stop you. Is that so? Then it seems that I'll have to use your concealment technique in the future to hide my cultivation level. I don't like to look for trouble, but I don't mind if others come looking for me to get rich. The more, the better. Chen Hao released a stream of energy and stored the 6 people's storage rings and dropped weapons into the Xianhuang ring. He did not have time to count them and sped toward Oasis City. But this time, Chen Hao concealed his aura even as he flew. He had no choice. His main task now was to completely shake off the Great Elder. Oasis City, Jingyun City, Wanxiang City, Dragon Elephant City, Silver Snow City, Black Iron City. After Chen Hao paid the entrance fee and entered Oasis City, he did not hesitate to spend a huge amount of elixir pills to pass through the transportation arrays of the various large chambers of commerce. He passed through Dragon Elephant City, where the headquarters of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion were located, and arrived at Black Iron City, which was 1,000,000 miles away from Dragon Elephant City. Black Iron City was located in the middle of the Black Flame Empire, a super empire in the world of cultivation. The ruler of the Black Flame Empire had the strength of a 5th-grade sect and countless experts. If not for the fact that the empire's system and benefits were different from those of the sects, it would probably be even stronger than a 7th-grade sect. Please pay the entrance fee of 158th-grade elixir pills or 15 9th-grade elixir pills. When Chen Hao walked out of the transportation array, the Black Iron City guard at the entrance spoke to Chen Hao. So expensive. It's 15 times more expensive than Oasis City. Chen Hao thought to himself, but he still obediently paid 158th-grade elixir pills and walked out of the transportation array hall. The battle of the top 10 on the dragon transformation list will begin today. I heard that the 9th grade sect's Origin School, Sky Sword Sect, Misty Palace, and Ling Tian Sect are all here to select disciples. Really? 4 of them? It's already good enough that there were 2 9th grade sects in the past. Why are there so many this time? The Origin School and Sky Sword Sect were all decided at the last minute. Isn't it because of the emergence of so many super geniuses on the dragon transformation list this time? There are more than 10 people who have stepped into the beginning stage of the Golden Core stage. This has never happened before. Let's go and bet. It'll be too late if we're late. The dragon transformation list. Walking out of the transportation array hall, Chenhao was surprised to see a dense crowd of people walking quickly and discussing at the same time. The transportation array Chenhao took was the headquarters of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion in Black Iron City. What Chenhao did not expect was that the dragon transformation list was also organized by the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Moreover, it was in the headquarters of Black Iron City. Chenhao shook his head. The dragon transformation list was once his goal. However, at this moment, he was dispirited. Firstly, he was no longer qualified to participate. Secondly, his ability had far surpassed the dragon transformation list. However, when he heard the name Ling Tian Sect, an inexplicable emotion still surged in Chenhao's heart. A 9th grade sect was a high and mighty existence. Yu, this is Black Iron City. The dragon transformation list this time is held in the headquarters of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Let's go, big brother. It's not the time to choose disciples yet. Yu wants to go to Black Iron City for a walk. Is that okay? Just as Chenhao shrugged and was about to leave the Heavenly Armament Pavilion, a voice suddenly came from behind, causing Chenhao to stop abruptly. Yu, it's not that I don't want you to go, but father has ordered, big brother, I beg you. Yu is already at the peak of the Mastery Nascent Soul stage. You'll be fine. Yu will definitely come back before the end of the competition, okay? Other than our Ling Tian sect, Yu hasn't gone anywhere else. Both of their voices were very soft. Amidst the noisy discussion, nobody noticed them. However, only the girl's voice remained in Chenhao's mind. Her heavenly voice did not change at all. Yu, don't make things difficult for me. When the dragon transformation list ends, I'll take you out to play. You can go anywhere you want. Let's go. Under the black veil, Xia Yuyu's clear and beautiful eyes revealed a trace of sadness. She could only follow the young man into the sky and fly directly to the training field where the dragon transformation list was held. Wow! Isn't that Xia Nantian? The 4 great young masters are all here. Who's that girl? Could it be Xia Yuyu? Xia Yuyu. It's definitely Xia Yuyu. Although she's wearing a veil, her peerless charm. This is going to be lively. I'm afraid even the Origin School might not be able to compete with the Ling Tian sect this time. Yuyu's appearance and a smile. Who can resist her? Nobody dared to fly in the sky in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Apart from the senior members of the sect, nobody dared to fly in the sky. Therefore, when Xia Nantian and Xia Yuyu flew in the sky, they instantly attracted the attention of countless people. It was only then that Chenhao turned around to look at the figure he had not seen for more than 2 years. She was devastatingly beautiful. Although it was only her back view, it still made Chenhao's heart sway. It had been more than 2 years. When Chenhao gave up on the dragon transformation list, he had thought that he would take it one step at a time. He had thought that the figure that had once irresistible entered the depths of his heart would fade with time. However, at this moment, when he saw her again, Chenhao was clear that she was still her. Her voice, her aura, and her figure still moved him in an instant without any reason. Love at first sight, it was fated. Perhaps it was because of the surging emotions in his heart, or perhaps it was because he could not control his emotions, but Chenhao could not help but release his aura. The beautiful figure that had already floated past the crowd in the air was suddenly startled. Under the gazes of thousands of people, she abruptly turned around and looked straight at Chen Hao. Oh no! The moment he saw Xia Yuyu turn around, Chen Hao was shocked. He quickly retracted his aura and blended into the crowd in a flash. Yuyu, what's wrong? Second update. Try to finish the third update before 12. Come to vote. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 242. No, nothing. Xia Yuyu blankly looked at the unfamiliar faces, her heart beating faster. But to her disappointment, she didn't see any familiar figures. For more than 2 years, she had been cultivating and cultivating. Being confined, she was like a bird in a cage, without any freedom or joy. But in order to obtain freedom, she could only cultivate and improve herself. Stepping from the martial god realm to the peak of the late nascent soul realm in 2 years, what kind of concept was that? She had obtained supreme glory and the title of the #1 beauty in the eastern continent in 1,000 years. She had obtained the meticulous care and nurturing of her family, but she couldn't feel happy. She had thought that after reaching the peak of the late nascent soul realm, she would obtain freedom, but she didn't expect that it would be this kind of freedom. Her big brother, who was at the incarnation realm, and the elders who had been hiding in the surroundings, were like an invisible cage. And she was just a little bird in a moving cage. The cage was the one with freedom, not her. The aura she had sensed had come too quickly and left too quickly. It had been so quick that Xia Yuyu thought it was an illusion. I was thinking too much. He had already given up on the dragon transformation list in the star-picking sect. How could he appear here? Xia Yuyu turned her head in disappointment and continued to follow her big brother. She wasn't like Chen Hao, who had his own freedom. She didn't have any distracting thoughts in her environment. Other than the sect tournament, she didn't have any opportunities to come into contact with the outside world. She could only see her parents, grandfather, and a few other relatives who had raised her like a treasure. Therefore, unlike Chen Hao, she wouldn't let the 1.5 years of cultivation remain silent in her heart. Secretly staring at Xia Yuyu, who had turned around and left at a loss, the corner of Chen Hao's mouth revealed a bitter smile. Especially after hearing the discussions of the people around him, his heart surged. You're a heavenly daughter, and I'm just a nameless mid-Golden Core realm kid. I can't see you for the time being, and I'm not worthy of you. I don't want my dignity to be trampled on again. Wait for me to be strong enough. Chen Hao's eyes shone with a resplendent light as he hardened his heart. The scene of Xia Yuyu's father and grandfather trampling on his dignity made him clench his fists and clench his teeth. It's him. When Chen Hao resolutely walked out of the heavenly armament pavilion, an ordinary-looking middle-aged man who was guarding the entrance saw Chen Hao walking against the flow of people. His eyes flashed with an imperceptible excitement. Then, he quietly activated the communication talisman in his hand. Black Iron City. This kid seems to be running away from someone. He first appeared in Oasis City, then Scenic Cloud City, then Myriad Phenomenon City, Dragon Elephant City, and Silver's Now City. He did not stop at all. This time, he finally exited the teleportation array in Black Iron City. Inform Fan Feng immediately. Yes. The leader of the Wantong Chamber of Commerce, who was in charge of this mission, gave the order. The Myriad Links Trading Company had countless masters and spies all over the eastern continent. As long as anyone could pay the right price, they could obtain information that satisfied their customers. Even though it was only a merchant association, in the entire eastern continent, even the Yuan school, the leader of the 9th rank sects, did not dare to rashly offend it. Not only were they well informed, but there was also a more important reason. The president of the Wantong Chamber of Commerce was a top expert with a mysterious identity. Walking on the wide street, Chen Hao, who originally wanted to stroll around Black Iron City, lost all interest and quickly headed out of the city. 30,000 miles south of Black Iron City, the Black Wind Ancient Cave was Chin Hao's destination. According to Ito Ta, the third floor of the Black Wind Ancient Cave was one of the most suitable places for Golden Elixir Realm practitioners to train. The first and second floors were where Khanate Realm disciples trained. The Black Wind Ancient Cave contained precious black iron ore veins and countless demonic beasts that could not be killed. No one knew how many floors there were, how deep and how big the cave was. It was easy to get lost in the crisscrossing and winding natural ancient cave. It had been nearly 1,000 years since its discovery. In the beginning, many practitioners never came out after entering, and it was listed as a dangerous place to train. More than 100 years ago, the Heavenly Armament Pavilion condensed a huge teleportation array at the entrance of the Black Wind Ancient Cave and sold teleportation talismans. Only then did the Black Wind Ancient Cave become a treasured place for countless sect disciples and independent practitioners to train. Whoosh! After exiting the south gate of Black Iron City, Chin Hao immediately flew into the air and turned into a stream of light. Perhaps it was because the dragon transformation list attracted most practitioners, but Chin Hao did not meet any practitioners along the way. It was only when he neared the Black Wind Ancient Cave that he saw a few practitioners, either alone or in groups of 3 to 5. Target has arrived at the Black Wind Ancient Cave. Target has entered the Black Wind Ancient Cave, did not purchase a teleportation talisman. Chin Hao did not know that when he walked out of Black Iron City, a bird-like thing without any energy aura was constantly 100 miles away, locking onto Chin Hao's whereabouts. The middle-aged man who discovered Chin Hao in Black Iron City was transmitting the news in real time. This was the most powerful tracking treasure of the Myriad Links trading firm, the puppet bird. Even an primordial soul realm expert would not be able to detect it, let alone Chin Hao. The small puppet bird contained powerful concealment and communication arrays. It relied on energy crystals to fly, and its maximum speed was comparable to a peak late-stage primordial soul realm expert. Furthermore, it did not have any life aura. What? Fan Feng, who was leading more than 10 mid-stage and late-stage golden elixir experts, was rushing towards Black Iron City through the city's teleportation array. He frowned when he received the news. Is this kid crazy? How dare he not go through the Heavenly Armament Pavilion's teleportation array, damn it! Fan Feng cursed angrily. Even he did not dare to enter the Black Wind Ancient Cave without going through the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. Without a teleportation talisman, it was basically impossible to get out once one entered. Otherwise, it would not have been designated as a dangerous training ground. Should we continue to follow? Our puppet bird may not be able to get out of the Black Wind Ancient Cave. If you want to chase, you'll need to pay an additional 30 million level 8 elixirs. 30 million. After receiving the news, Fan Feng's face turned green. Where would he get 30 million elixirs from? He could only rely on himself. An hour later, Fan Feng and the 13 Sword Faction disciples arrived at the entrance of the Black Wind Ancient Cave, 14 teleportation talismans and 14 positioning discs. And 140 pairs of communication talismans, Fan Feng said directly after arriving at the Heavenly Armament Pavilion's teleportation array. 14 teleportation talismans, 1. 4 million level 8 elixirs, 14 positioning discs, 140,000 level 8 elixirs, 140 pairs of communication talismans, 140,000 level 8 elixirs, a total of 1.68 million level 8 elixirs. Fan Feng quickly paid for the elixirs. Even he felt the pinch. Originally, they only needed to wait at the teleportation array until Chin Hao came out. But now, Fan Feng had no choice but to go in. Because Chin Hao did not buy any teleportation talismans, it meant that he could stay in there for years, decades, or even never come out. He might even die in there. This was not what he wanted. Because Chin Hao's inner demon had not been removed, he, who was half a step away from the nascent soul stage, did not dare to trigger the divine punishment. He had already been delayed for 2 years, how could he dare to delay any longer? After buying the items, Fan Feng distributed the teleportation talismans, positioning discs, and communication talismans to the 13 disciples and went straight to the entrance of the Black Wind Ancient Cave. Did you see this kid? He came in an hour ago. After Fan Feng finished speaking, he appeared in front of the young disciples who had gathered not far away. He took out a portrait of Chen Hao and asked. This was the first level of the Black Wind Ancient Cave. Usually, many cultivators would gather here after entering, or wait for someone. I saw him, he went that way. The young disciples felt the powerful aura and pressure from Fan Feng and did not dare to lie. One of them said, "Let's go." At Fan Feng's command, he led the 13 men and chased after them at lightning speed. The disciples of the Sword Faction, what a terrifying aura, could it be the super genius of the Sword Faction, Fan Feng? I feel that his aura is even more terrifying than senior brother Chen Hua's. It is Fan Feng. I saw him 2 years ago during the recruitment of disciples for the 100 Empire ranking. It is said that even disciples in the early nascent soul stage are no match for him. That kid just now must be Chen Hao, the one who fought to a draw with the champion of the previous 100 Empire rankings. How awesome, he has actually advanced to the intermediate golden core stage. When I saw him just now, I was still wondering how there could be someone who looked so similar. Since Fan Feng has chased after him, he must be Chen Hao. Ah. Senior brotherly, they have a grudge. Those who went to the 100 Empire ranking knew. This Chen Hao killed Fan Feng's most beloved little sister in the Divine Battle Ruins. You might not know this, but at that time, several sects were trying to get Chen Hao to join them, and they even made special offers to Fan Feng. Oh, that Chen Hao is really not simple. He has advanced to the intermediate golden core stage so quickly. Unfortunately, he is doomed this time, that may not be true. This Fan Feng is a bit of an idiot. If I were him, I would wait at the teleportation array in the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. The Dark Wind Cave is crisscrossing. Looking for someone is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Although it is only an hour, there are so many forks. If Chen Hao is lucky, it will not be easy to catch up. The demonic beasts on the first level could not stop them at all. But after more than 10 minutes, 5 tunnels appeared in front of them. Split up and chase. You will split into 4 groups. Once you find him, send me a message immediately. Intermediate and peak golden core stage, do not attack. Just tail him. That kid is already at the intermediate golden core stage. His combat power may be very high. Advanced golden core stage, catch him. I will take care of him. When you meet a fork, split up if you can. When you meet a cultivator, ask him. But don't waste too much time. His target should be the 3rd level. If you can't catch up in an hour, find the entrance to the 2nd level. Don't waste time on the 2nd level. Go straight to the 3rd level. Yes. Hiss. Chen Hao's body was like a gust of wind, shuttling through the cave quickly. Itoto was indeed a veteran who made a living by killing and robbing people. This Dark Wind Ancient Cave was thousands of miles wide. It was extremely complicated and crisscrossing. He was familiar with it. When he was hunted down, he hid in the Dark Wind Ancient Cave for 10 whole years. This saved Chen Hao 100,000 level 8 spiritual pills. Otherwise, Chen Hao would have to buy a teleportation talisman. 3rd update. Make up for yesterday's overdue stamp. I am really sorry. There are so many things to do these days, and I can't escape from them. Chapter 243. Ito Ta, you are wrong 3 times, is there a problem with your memory? 3 hours later, with Chen Hao's speed, in the rugged and complex first floor of the Black Wind Ancient Cave, he ran more than 30,000 miles. According to the route of the 2nd floor, he walked 3 times, but he did not find the entrance, which made Chen Hao lose his patience. Cough, it seems that something is wrong. My memory is correct, obviously the 3 places I pointed have the entrance to the 2nd floor, how can there be no entrance? Could it be that the Black Wind ancient cave has changed in these years? It should be like this Black Wind ancient cave is also an ancient ruin, so far no one has been able to explore it completely, let's go back and ask other cultivators. As for going out, don't worry, just casually kill 2 people. Ito-ta said awkwardly. Itoto was here when he was at the peak of the late Jidun realm. It was decades ago. Even he did not expect such a situation to happen. With his cultivation at the peak of the late Yuanying realm, his memory should not be confused. In the future, I am not a devil cultivator, I will kill those who should be killed, but killing innocent people is not allowed. Chen Hao said. Just now, along the way, he saw a lot of Xiantian disciples, who were basically in groups of 5 or 6, and some of the groups were guarded by peak late gold core stage experts. According to Ito-ta, these disciples were basically the genius disciples of the sect, there were very few rogue cultivators. Because the transmission talisman of Heavenly Armament Pavilion was too expensive, 100,000 8th level spirit pills, ordinary rogue cultivators were reluctant to pay. Of course, there were also people like Chen Hao who did not buy the transmission talisman. However, these people were basically the same as Ito-ta. They came in with the mentality of killing people and robbing them. If they wanted to go out, they could kill a few people and get the transmission talisman. The premise was that they could not get lost in the Black Wind ancient cave. Even if they had the transmission talisman, they would not dare to go too deep. From the Black Wind ancient cave to Heavenly Armament Pavilion, the distance in a straight line could not exceed 100,000 miles, otherwise, the transmission talisman would fail. Since Heavenly Armament Pavilion spent a lot of money to build a giant transmission array at the entrance of the Black Wind ancient cave, for more than 100 years, there were still countless cultivators who entered but did not come out. However, this ancient dark wind cave is indeed like a maze. If we want to leave without a teleportation talisman, I'm afraid that we won't be able to leave. Chen Hao said with a frown. Although he had a photographic memory, he didn't pay attention to the number of forks when he came in because of Ito-ta. These forked paths were crisscrossed, densely packed, and extremely complicated. Most importantly, the entrance of every single forked path was extremely similar. That's right. Let's go back and ask around. Let's go to the 3rd floor first. With Master's strength, I'm afraid no one would dare to find trouble with you on the 1st and 2nd floors. As for the 3rd floor, fighting over it is too common. Moreover, the 3rd floor has the most cultivators. Many people stay there for a year or so, or even several years. Oh. Why is it taking so long? Chen Hao asked in surprise. Firstly, the teleportation talisman is too expensive. It's not easy to come in. Secondly, the 3rd level was indeed a treasured cultivation ground for Golden Core Realm cultivators. The number of demon beasts was enormous, and the various ranks were divided according to a pattern. Thirdly, there were many caves and palaces on the 3rd floor. Demon beasts couldn't enter, so cultivators could cultivate in peace. This is very important. Another point is that there are more precious black iron ores on the 3rd floor. If you're lucky, you can obtain more precious black iron crystals, or even the priceless black iron quintessence. This is one of the materials to refine spiritual weapons, or even earth-level and heaven-level spiritual treasures. In addition to these, in the past 1,000 years, many talented cultivators had fallen in there. Naturally, their belongings were also left behind. In that case, it's indeed a good place. Unfortunately, I only have 2 months. Chen Hao said, besides the 1st to 3rd floors, are there any more advanced places? I'm not sure. Logically speaking, there should be. After all, this ancient dark wind cave is very mysterious and huge. It's definitely not a low-level relic. However, until now, no one has explored the entrance to the 4th floor. The main reason is that the terrain is too complicated. Once you get lost, You might die in there." While they were talking, Chen Hao avoided some low-level demon beasts and came out of the cave at an amazing speed. After running for more than 10 minutes, he finally met a cultivator at the peak of the middle stage Golden Elixir realm. However, the cultivator was running quickly towards a fork in the road and didn't sense Chen Hao's presence at all. The peak of the middle stage Golden Elixir realm. He should be going to the 3rd floor. Itota's soul perception was stronger than Chen Hao's when Chen Hao didn't suppress it. When he sensed that the cultivator was alone and was avoiding low-level demon beasts, Itota said, "Ask him, or follow him." Follow him. Chen Hao frowned slightly after seeing the style and color of the cultivator's Taoist robe. Although he only saw the back and didn't see the insignia on the cultivator's chest, Chen Hao was sure that the cultivator was a disciple of the sword faction. However, Chen Hao didn't think that it had anything to do with him. Even if Fan Fong was powerful, he couldn't have caught up so quickly. Not to mention Fan Fong, even the Elder of Imparting Skills had been shaken off. How could Fan Fong catch up with him? Master, something's wrong. This disciple is from the sword faction. Itota said immediately. Itota already knew about Chen Hao and Fan Fong when the Elder of Imparting Skills from the Star-Picking sect came to protect him. What's the big deal? It's just the sword faction, not Fan Fong. Besides, even if it's Fan Fong, what's there to be afraid of? Chen Hao said casually. Fan Fong was still in the Golden Elixir realm. Although he was half a step away from the nascent soul realm, he was still a super genius and his combat strength must be very high. However, as long as he wasn't in the nascent soul realm, Chen Hao had nothing to be afraid of. You'd better be careful. Master, I know that your combat strength is very high, but Fan Fong is indeed a rare genius. Although he's only a 6th grade faction, he can be famous in the world of cultivation not only because of his fast progress, but also because of his terrifying combat strength. He's half a step away from the nascent soul realm and can reach the nascent soul realm at any time. Boom. 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 Chen Hao followed the disciple silently and moved forward quickly. At this moment, they passed through a huge cave that was hundreds of feet wide and entered a huge space with a radius of thousands of feet. 6 or 7 disciples in the nascent soul realm were crazily hunting demonic beasts. Next to them was a middle-aged man at the peak of the Golden Elixir realm. As for Chen Hao, when he saw a few more passageways appear in the huge space, he stopped and quickly walked towards the disciples. "Get out of my way." The disciple of the sword faction shouted and swung his sword to kill a large number of demonic beasts. He came near them like lightning and said with a trace of arrogance, "Don't be afraid. I'm an inner disciple of the sword faction. I just want to ask you something. Have you seen this person before?" To Chen Hao's surprise, the disciple of the sword faction took out a portrait and asked under the watchful eyes of the other expert. "No, we haven't. I'm sorry." The middle-aged man at the peak of the Golden Elixir realm relaxed slightly. When the disciple of the sword faction came over, he recognized him as a disciple of the sword faction. And the strength he showed when killing the demonic beasts just now was not something he could compete with. Although he was in the same realm as the disciple. Damn it! The disciple of the Flying Sword School cursed. His body flashed, and he directly rushed into a cave, quickly leaving. Amazing. He's really looking for me. Chen Hao's eyes flashed with a trace of coldness and ridicule as he said in his mind. It must be the Wan Tong Chamber of Commerce. Fan Fong seems to have paid a big price. Ito Ta said with great certainty. Wan Tong Chamber of Commerce? A chamber of commerce that specializes in selling information is so powerful? Chen Hao said. Chen Hao had seen the introduction of the Wan Tong Chamber of Commerce in the sex information, but he didn't take it seriously. Yes, the Wan Tong Chamber of Commerce is very powerful. As long as you can afford it, there is no information that they can't find. Not to mention that you don't even have a disguise now, and your cultivation is only at the middle of the Golden Elixir realm. Even if I used the possession technique and the concealment technique, I couldn't escape their eyes. Yi Feishua knew that I was in the Sky Wolf Demon area, and she also paid a big price to buy the information from the Wantong Chamber of Commerce. In the world of cultivation, they have spies in every city. Unless you stay in the wilderness and don't come into contact with anyone, there's no wall that doesn't have a crack. Fan Fong must be in the cave as well. Master, with your current strength, I'm afraid. How do you know if you don't try? Let's kill him first. After Chen Hao finished speaking, he quietly followed. Master, he must have a communication talisman and a positioning disc on him. Kill him in one blow. Don't give him any chance to spread the news. Ito Ta saw that Chen Hao had no intention of avoiding and hurriedly said. In terms of killing and robbing, this guy was definitely quite experienced. What is a positioning disc? Chen Hao asked. It had to be said that reading 10,000 books was not as good as traveling 10,000 miles. The sex information was very detailed, but it was impossible to record any details. There were still many things that Chen Hao needed to understand about this mystical world. It is the same as the teleportation talisman. It is a tool that the Sky Armament Pavilion condensed according to the Black Wind Ancient Cave. On the positioning disc of the same group, you can see the position of the others. In other words, as long as you get this guy's positioning disc, you can know the position of Fan Fong and the people he brought. Moreover, the positioning disc will mark many entrances and the routes of the detected areas. Hee. As long as the communication talisman is not exposed, Master can assassinate one by one except for Fan Fong. But you have to be fast. Otherwise, the positioning disc of the second person to be killed will not move. If you are not holding it and always together, it will arouse the suspicion of the other party. That's right. I originally wanted to have a big fight. In that case, I will leave it for later. Chen Hao said with a slight smile. Hiss. Blending into the world, the aura around him was restrained to the extreme. If it was in the arena, it could arouse the opponent's vigilance. But assassinating? Damn it, so many forks, looking for ghosts. Let's go to the third level quickly. When there were several forks in the road again, the disciple of the sword faction stopped and took out the positioning disc. Right at this moment, a sword light suddenly streaked across without a sound. Chapter 244. So dizzy. Why is it spinning? There was no reaction. There was not even the slightest intuition of impending death. This sword faction disciple was originally still staring at the positioning disc to see which entrance was closer. But suddenly, the positioning disc could not be seen. The scene in his eyes changed as it spun. He saw a headless corpse that looked very familiar. When he saw the person he was looking for sheathing his sword, his eyes widened. He realized something, but it was too late. He could only cry out in surprise in his heart, but he couldn't say it out loud. Darkness swallowed him. In your next life, remember to follow the right person, Chen Hao said coldly without the slightest bit of mercy. In fact, compared to Yi Wendao, he was already merciful. Because he did not use the vermilion bird seal to destroy his soul. Death was like blowing out a lamp. Chen Hao directly opened the storage ring that had lost its brand and had become an ownerless object. This is the teleportation talisman, positioning disc, and communication talisman. There are quite a lot of things. Chen Hao said. Yes. Don't just take the storage ring. Quickly keep the Jindan and check the corpse. There might be other gains. Especially these sect disciples, they usually have things like protective armor. There are also weapons and so on. Many times, there are unexpected gains. That makes sense. Like my heaven and earth ring, do others have many storage spaces that are integrated into the mind? If so, how do I take them out? Chen Hao asked as he worked. Don't worry about that. Your heaven and earth ring and 5 elements sword are a combination spiritual weapon. Individually, it is only a low-grade spiritual weapon. But when combined, it is a high-grade spiritual weapon. In addition, the 5 divine beasts are integrated into the 5 elements sword. At this moment, it is probably a supreme-grade spiritual weapon. There is still a huge room for improvement. Moreover, even a high-grade spiritual weapon may not have a storage space. The Heaven and Earth Ring can only be considered an exception. At least for Jin Dan disciples, they probably don't have such a powerful spiritual weapon. Even if they do, after a person dies, their soul will leave the body and the spiritual weapon brand will be removed. It will also fall off by itself. Spiritual weapons were the general term for weapons and equipment that surpassed the category of ordinary metal. The materials used to refine them were precious, and they had formations that could increase attack and defense. A low-grade spirit artifact was extremely precious to disciples below the Xiantian realm, but to Golden Core realm experts, it was the most ordinary. However, for Golden Core disciples, even if they were ordinary sect disciples, it was very difficult for them to obtain a middle-grade spirit weapon. Most of them used the lower-grade spirit weapons that were given out by the sect. A high-grade spiritual artifact was even more impossible. Even for nascent soul realm experts, it was very rare. Of course, the super geniuses that the sect focused on nurturing might be an exception. Geniuses with great luck might also be an exception. Those that surpassed superior grade spirit artifacts were Earth rank and Heaven rank spirit artifacts. These were even rarer. Right at this moment, Treasure Hunter's sword spirit suddenly appeared and spoke in Qinhao's mind. With me here, would you still have to worry about missing any treasures? Are you done? Qinhao was pleasantly surprised. After stepping into the Golden Core realm, Qinhao had always been thinking about tempering the mysterious existence in his mind. Even when he was in the 7 Stars Grotto Heaven, he was still thinking about it. However, Treasure Hunter's sword spirit told him that they still needed some time, and that they could just wait for them to finish. Up until now, Treasure Hunting's sword spirit had not appeared. If it's not good, can I come out? When you have time to cultivate, you can start tempering. Treasure Hunter's sword spirit said. Okay. Qinhao's face shone with a hint of anticipation as he said. Without wasting any time, after a short conversation, Qinhao picked up the positioning disc and studied it carefully for a moment. The positioning disc was covered with dense and thin golden lines. From the curved shape of the golden lines and the number annotations, it could be seen that this was the map of the ancient Black Wind Cave. This bigger green dot is where I am. The other smaller green dots are where Fan Fong and the others are. The dark areas outside the red warning line are the areas that have not been detected. They are also the areas that are beyond the range of the teleportation talisman, right? Yes, that's right. Those flashing white dots are the entrances to the next level. The positioning disc only shows the map of the level you are on and your teammates. There are still 3 people on the first level who are approaching the entrance to the second level. They are not far in a straight line, but if you want to chase after them, it will be too late. It will take at least 30 to 40,000 miles to catch up. See you on the second level then. Qinhao said. Hiss. Qinhao turned into a stream of light and flew toward the nearest entrance to the second level. Ah! Not long after Qinhao left, several figures appeared at the place where Qinhao had killed the disciple of the sword faction as fast as lightning. Coincidentally, he saw a headless corpse that had been gnawed by several demonic beasts. The corpse's white bones were exposed, and some pieces of meat hung on it. Not far away, there was a skull rolling. It was obvious that it had just been gnawed clean. The extremely valiant robe of the Flying Sword School disciple had also been turned into pieces and scattered around. A piece with the symbol of the sword faction embroidered on it was still shining with a faint light. Isn't that the disciple of the sword faction? Senior Brotherly, it seems that the battle has begun. Amazing. He just died, no more than a minute ago. Otherwise, the corpse would have been gnawed clean. I just don't know who it is. But Fan Fong and the others are at least at the middle stage of the Golden Elixir realm, which is the same realm as Qinhao. Another disciple said. Chen Hao's talent and battle strength are very terrifying. Although he is the runner-up of the 100 Empire ranking, he is not inferior to the champion at all. In fact, he is even stronger. Otherwise, he would not have been snatched by so many high-level sects. Although the star-picking sect is one grade lower than our Thunder Valley, they have the 7-star Grotto Heaven, which is suitable for outer disciples to cultivate. This Chen Hao might have comprehended a lot of heavenly Tao laws in there. These people were the disciples that Fan Fong had asked about at the entrance. Except for senior brother Li, who was at the late stage of the Golden Elixir realm, the others were at the middle stage and early stage of the Golden Elixir realm. Chen Hao was already very deep. Although the entrance to Ito Ta's memory had disappeared, the new entrance was not far away. After only an hour, a shining energy vortex appeared in front of Chen Hao. It was like a circular door of light, with a diameter of 10 feet. Hiss! Chen Hao did not stop. He stepped in, and the light dimmed as his body merged into it. This Black Wind ancient cave is too big. There are 14 of us and 14 of us. It is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Moreover, he did not buy a transmission talisman or positioning talisman. Even if he wants to kill others to get them, it will take some time. Why don't we? Fuck his mother. On the second level of the Black Wind ancient cave, a figure was flying at an astonishing speed. The surrounding low-level demonic beasts sensed his aura and quickly avoided him. They were afraid that they would be killed if they were too slow. This figure was Fan Fong, who had entered the second level first. Fan Fong activated all 13 communication talismans and transmitted his voice into them. Don't look for him. Go straight to the third level. Look at the positioning disc. Try not to repeat the entrance. When you reach the third level, guard the entrance. That kid will come in sooner or later. If there is a situation, inform me immediately. Yes, senior brother. Instantly, the 12 disciples of the Sword faction, including Chen Hao, responded when they sensed the fluctuation of the communication talismans. The communication talismans came in pairs. They were useless after one use. Naturally, they would respond. However, Chen Hao had changed his voice to imitate the disciple he had killed. Although there were discrepancies, if one did not listen carefully, Fan Fong would not have noticed. Fan Fong indeed did not notice. After notifying them, he sped up again and rushed to the nearest entrance. More than 2 hours later, Fan Fong arrived at the entrance to the third level. He glanced at the positioning disc and saw that the others were quickly approaching the nearest entrance. He stepped into the light door. This idiot. I was still having a headache about how to kill a few more. He just stretched his neck out. On the second level, Chen Hao deliberately kept his speed about the same as the others. He quickly approached the nearest entrance to the third level. It was impossible not to be excited. Originally, if Chen Hao had killed 2 or 3 people, they would have noticed. But now, they were all guarding the entrance. This was simply courting death. At this moment, Chen Hao also found out how many people Fan Fong had brought. Including the one he had killed, there were 14 of them. In a flash of light, Chen Hao appeared on the third level of the ancient Black Wind cave. Whoosh, a cold demonic wind blew. The entire space was filled with a demonic aura that was many times stronger than on the first and second levels. On the third level, even the weakest demonic beast was at the Golden Elixir stage. Every entrance would teleport one to the edge of the third level. Demonic beasts were relatively rare and of lower levels. According to the positioning disc, as long as one followed a specific route, they would be able to avoid most of the demonic beasts and quickly arrive at the safe zone at the core of the explored area. The safe zone was the palace in the cave that Ito Ta said demonic beasts could not enter. After Chen Hao took out the positioning disc, he frowned slightly. He found that the light that represented Fan Fong and the others were not guarding the entrance. Instead, they were rushing to the safe zone at the core. Of the other 12 people, 6 had already stepped into the third level. They stopped at the entrance and did not move. Obviously, they were following Fan Fang's orders. The one heading to the core should be Fan Fang. Chen Hao thought for a while and guessed that the light should be Fan Fang. The others should not have disobeyed his orders. Then what was Fan Fang doing in the safe zone? There are 83 entrances on the positioning map alone. It will not be easy to guard me. Since this guy is going to the core, is he looking for help? Or is he looking for a bounty? Very likely. The corners of Chen Hao's mouth revealed a wisp of a strategist's smile. After memorizing the route to the nearest teleportation point of the Flying Sword sect disciple in his mind, he directly threw the positioning disc to a relatively hidden corner. His figure flashed, and his speed was raised to the limit. The aura around his body was also released without restraint, and it pressured the low-level early-stage Golden Core stage demon beasts to the point that they all avoided him. Chapter 245. These high-level demonic beasts had extremely high intelligence. Even though they could sense that Chen Hao was only at the middle stage of the Golden Elixir realm, his terrifying aura let them know that the human in front of them was not someone they could fight against. A quarter of an hour, half an hour, one person died. 2 hours later, 2 people died. Every time Chen Hao killed someone, he would loot their Golden Elixir and their belongings. After locking on to the next target through the compass, he would throw them into a hidden corner. In a short time, as long as Fan Fang did not withdraw his order to wait, he would not be able to detect Chen Hao's movements. Just as Chen Hao was flying toward the third person, the communication talismans he obtained from the 3 disciples of the Sword Clan vibrated at the same time. "Which one of you left the entrance?" Fan Fang's sullen voice reached Chen Hao's ears. "I was discovered so quickly." Chen Hao suddenly stopped and thought to himself. Needless to say, someone must have picked up the compass. This time, even if Chen Hao wanted to get away with it, there was no way he could. Other than the first guy, who he heard, the other 2 people he just killed did not hear anything at all. And there was a female disciple, how could he imitate? Compass, 14 people's compass. What are these people doing at the entrance? A figure appeared at the entrance where Chen Hao had killed the second disciple of the Flying Sword School. Relying on his senses that were several times stronger than ordinary people, he easily discovered the positioning disc that Chen Hao had thrown in a hidden place. The figure frowned slightly and said, "Those who can enter here must be in the Golden Elixir realm. If they dare to guard the entrance, they must be dealing with someone. If that's the case, they should not be in the early stage of the Golden Elixir realm." They were killed without a sound. This sneak attack. Could it be Leng Yihan? He should have been in the ancient Black Wind Cave for 2 days. It's very possible. It's best if someone kills you. He is only in the middle stage of the Golden Elixir realm, but he stole all my thunder. If not for that sneak attack, how could I lose to him? This figure was the inner disciple of the Myriad Elixir Pavilion, Nia Wanshan, ranked first among the top 10 masters. But this first place was in the past. Because now, Leng Yihan was the number 1 master in the inner sect of the Myriad Pill Pavilion. Even though Leng Yihan was only in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. If Nia Wanshan had lost to Leng Yihan fair and square, he would not have hated Leng Yihan so much. Because in terms of absolute power, Leng Yihan was no match for him at all. He had relied entirely on his strange stealth skills and sneak attacks to injure him severely. Only then did he win by luck. Plus, the sect's protection of Leng Yihan made him very unhappy. This time, he followed Leng Yihan quietly, waiting for an opportunity to kill him. If he made a move, he would definitely be discovered by the pavilion master, because Leng Yihan's body had already been imprinted with the seal of life and death. However, he didn't care because he knew very well that dead geniuses were no longer geniuses. As long as he could kill him, even the pavilion master would not sentence him to death. At most, he would only suffer a temporary punishment, but in exchange, he would regain his glory and status. Given his talent, there was no way the sect would give up on him. However, if he could borrow someone else's hand to kill Leng Yihan, that would be the best. Therefore, he took the positioning disc with him. Although he was only guessing that it might be Leng Yihan, he was not sure. But he would rather kill 1,000 by mistake than let one go. Even if it was not Leng Yihan, it would be someone unrelated to him. So what if he ruined his good deed? Senior brotherly, there really is a positioning disc. At almost the same time, when Qin Hao stepped into the entrance of the 3rd floor, several disciples of Thunder Valley also rushed to the 3rd floor. These people were undoubtedly the ones who knew the most about Fan Fang and Leng Yihan. In fact, they were just speculating out of curiosity. So, after stepping into the 3rd floor, they found a positioning disc in a hidden corner. They really are all guarding the entrance. Only one is in the core safe area. That should be Fan Fang, right? Just leave it there and don't move. Senior brotherly, can't we help the sword sect? Maybe we can get some benefits. Is life more important or benefits more important? We can be curious about this kind of thing, but we can only wait and see. The sword sect is strong, and Fan Fang is a super genius, but you can't understand how dangerous Qin Hao is. Although I have only seen the power he displayed when he was a low-level cultivator. Okay, let's go. Our business is to gain experience. Remember, no matter what happens in the future, as long as it has nothing to do with you, it's best not to interfere. For small benefits, you may pay with your life. Oh, how is that possible? 3. Shi Bai Hui, Chang Yan, and Yao Anhua. Did something happen to them? Was it Qin Hao or someone else? Impossible, Yao Anhua is in the late Golden Elixir realm, and Qin Hao is only in the middle Golden Elixir realm. How could he kill them silently? Fan Fang's face was ugly, and a strong murderous aura spread from his body. His face became ferocious and terrifying. 3 of the 13 communication talismans he sent out had not been answered. What did that mean? The cultivators in the palace in the cave felt Fan Fang's ferocious and terrifying aura, and they all kept quiet out of fear. The disciples who were about to leave their rooms to gain experience stopped dead in their tracks, not daring to show their faces. Some of the disciples of the higher-level sects were fine. Although Fan Fang was terrifying, they had the backing of their sects and were not afraid. But some of the rogue cultivators were scared out of their wits, and were afraid that they would become the target of Fan Fang's wrath. In the world of cultivation, strength was supreme, and killing people was like killing chickens. Especially in this kind of treasured training ground, one could die at any time. Fan Fang, who had arrived here in advance, had bought off dozens of rogue cultivators in the late Golden Elixir realm at a low price, and they all dared to go to the other 3 entrances. If anyone could find Qin Hao and inform him, or capture him, they would be rewarded handsomely. Hiss! Fan Fang did not waste any time. His body turned into a stream of light and rushed out at an astonishing speed. If it was Qin Hao, he would have been exposed. But at this moment, he was sure that Qin Hao was rushing to the nearest entrance. Even if Qin Hao wanted to escape, there was a certain range. With his half-step nascent soul strength, he believed that it would be easy to find Qin Hao. Let's go and have a look. He must have found the super genius Qin Hao of the star-picking sect. Super genius? He is just the runner-up of the 100 Empire ranking. And he has the help of the 7-star cave heaven of the star-picking sect. He is nothing compared to Fan Fang. Fan Fang reached the peak of the late Golden Elixir realm in 2 years with his own talent. Whether he is a genius or not, we will know when we see him. Unfortunately, whether he is or not, he is going to die. Let's go and have a look. Fan Fang is known as a super genius second only to the 8th rank sections. I really want to see him. After Fan Fang flew out of the core safety zone palace, countless cultivators followed him out of the enormous hall. Although they did not know what information Fan Fang had obtained, they knew that it had something to do with Qin Hao. This was because all the cultivators in the hall knew that Fan Fang was looking for Qin Hao. After hundreds of cultivators followed Fan Fang, in a room on the 2nd floor of the palace, a figure muttered to himself. Then, mysterious rays of light rose from his body. Hiss. Eh. Who is that? Countless cultivators who were chasing after Fan Feng suddenly saw a young girl in a long blue dress. She had a graceful figure and a black veil over her face. Her speed was astonishing. I don't think I have seen such a beautiful safety zone before. Although the black veil covered the girl's face, one could still vaguely see the outline of her face and her beautiful eyes. Many cultivators were shocked and their minds were captivated. What an obscure aura. I can't even sense her cultivation level. When did such a mysterious girl appear in the cultivation world? A cultivator who was at the peak of the late golden elixir stage was slightly older and had rich experience. He was shocked. With his knowledge, he knew all the disciples who were slightly famous in the cultivation world. Chen Hao pondered for a moment, and his expression gradually turned cold. A surge of fighting spirit also began to soar. Looking at the 3 communication talismans that had already died, Chen Hao took a deep breath and directly took out a communication talisman that was still in good condition. Master, what are you doing? Ito Ta asked, slightly surprised. I want to see the power of a half-step nascent soul stage cultivator. Since I have been discovered, there is no need to continue. If you want to fight, let's fight. Chen Hao's handsome face shone with coldness and arrogance as he said in a low voice. So what if he was famous in the Zhaixing sect? If he wanted to rise quickly, he had to strike in a high-profile way. Men were afraid of fame and pigs were afraid of being fat. A true powerhouse had to stand at the cusp of the storm and become a true trendsetter who was not afraid of any challenge. After that, Chen Hao directly activated the communication talisman and said, Fan Feng, right? Wait for me in the safe area. What? It's really you. Bastard, do you think I will believe you? Let me tell you, no matter where you are, you can't escape from my hands. This time, you are dead. Idiot, I want to run. How can you catch me? If you want to waste your energy, then waste it. See you in the safe area. Don't let me wait too long, my patience is limited. Chen Hao said disdainfully. After that, he directly turned into a stream of light and followed the route that had been memorized to the core safe area as fast as lightning. He's crazy. Itoda said in horror. Chen Hao's tone made him dare not question. But Chen Hao's actions made him very worried. Even if he already knew a lot about Chen Hao, he did not think that Chen Hao, who was only at the middle stage of Golden Core, had the ability to fight against Chen Hao, who was half a step away from nascent soul. In his opinion, Chen Hao's confidence was too inflated. One must know that there was always someone better than you. Especially Fan Feng, who was not as simple as an ordinary half a step away from nascent soul. He was a super genius who could challenge those of a higher level. P.S. I feel guilty and dare not ask for votes. I will definitely speed up the update next week. Definitely, definitely. There is nothing I can do this week. Especially this weekend, there may be more tragedies in the next 2 days. Everyone, please bear with it. Chapter 246. Humph, do you think I'm an idiot? Fan Feng replied again. His body did not stop at all. The powerful senses of a half-step nascent soul realm cultivator spread out. With his keen senses, he determined the possible escape routes and directions of Chen Hao within a radius of several hundred miles and quickly chased after him. 4 hours later, Fan Feng's face was livid. He took a deep breath, turned around, and quickly headed for the safety zone. He was full of confidence, but he was infuriated by Chen Hao in their first encounter. After 4 hours, he didn't sense any aura of Chen Hao, but he received a message from Chen Hao again. Safety zone. Why did he go back? The beautiful girl in a blue dress with a black veil covering her face was one of the few experts who could keep up with Fan Feng's speed. She was slightly surprised when she found that Fan Feng had stopped moving forward and was instead heading back quickly. Some of the cultivators who were following behind and waiting to watch a good show also turned around and headed back. Is this the palace in the cave? Chen Hao suddenly appeared at the entrance of the huge palace in the core safety zone like a breeze. This was a huge space with a radius of thousands of miles and a height of tens of thousands of feet. There was a huge circular palace complex in the core area, which was emitting an ancient and cold aura. Ah! Just as Chen Hao was staring at the palace and feeling slightly shocked, a woman's scream came from far behind him. It was very soft and obviously hundreds of miles away, but it didn't escape Chen Hao's sharp perception. Bang! 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 In a moment, the sound of mountains shaking and the earth shaking came closer. A terrifying aura of a demonic beast gradually became clear. What a powerful demonic beast! Chen Hao was slightly surprised and turned around. Two silhouettes were flying toward the palace at a speed several times faster than the speed of sound. 10 miles behind them, a crimson demonic beast that was even taller than a small mountain was following. It looked like it was made of underground lava, and each step it took covered several thousand meters. Obviously, it was getting closer and closer to the two cultivators in front of it. Junior sister, don't be afraid. Hang in there. We'll reach the safety zone soon. Ah. Senior brother Duan, don't worry about me, it's too late. Ah, a female disciple at the very back was being grabbed by a young man. She was running for her life, her mouth full of blood. Even her clothes had countless black holes that looked like they had been burned, revealing her protective armor. Even so, the two of them were emitting a burnt smell. This was especially true for the youth who had used his body to block the attack. His back was completely black. Their auras were clearly at the peak of the late golden elixir realm. The young man, in particular, was half a step away from the nascent soul realm. However, the demonic beast they encountered was too strong. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that a red flame beast would appear in a region that was clearly suitable for a peak late-stage golden core realm cultivator to cultivate. The red flame beast's battle prowess was close to that of an early nascent soul realm expert. Even if an early nascent soul stage expert encountered him, he would be forced to retreat. It had a huge body that seemed to be made of magma. Even if it was chopped into pieces, it could still regenerate its body. It was one of the legendary immortal demonic beasts that contained a pure immortal bloodline. Its speed was also as abnormal as that of an early nascent soul stage expert. Out of the 8 of them, only the 2 of them were still alive. Initially, they had scattered in all directions to escape. Even so, the others were killed one by the red flame beast and burned into ashes. What a terrifying demonic aura! The tremors of the earth and mountains, as well as the demonic aura that covered thousands of miles, alerted the cultivators who were immersed in cultivation in the palaces hundreds of miles away. One by one, they flew out of the palaces with a shocked expression on their faces. Help! The young girl let out a sharp, loud, terrified, and hopeful cry. What was so close yet worlds apart? This was called. They were about to escape into the safety zone of the palaces, but the red flame beast was getting closer and closer. According to the red flame beast's attack range, they would be finished in another 4 breaths. When the young girl saw the cultivators flying out of the palaces, she called for help. Although she did not have much hope, this was because the cultivators here were only golden core stage experts. Who could stop them? Even if they could stop them for a moment, who would help them? I'm Ling Tian Sex Duan Yufei. I'll give 10 million level 8 spirit pills to whoever saves my junior sister. My junior sister is the direct descendant of the Ling Tian Sex sect leader, Xia Lan Lan. The heavily injured young man was completely relying on his willpower to support himself. The young man who was well versed in the ways of the world did not cry for help like the young girl. Even so, no one was willing to joke around with their own lives. No matter how many spirit pills there were, they would not be able to enjoy them if they lost their lives. Who was Duan Yufei? He was the super genius who was ranked 9th among the inner court disciples of the grade 9 sect, Ling Tian sect. He had long stepped into the half-step nascent soul stage. Even he was running for his life. Most of the people present were at the intermediate and mastery stage of the golden core stage. There were only a few at the peak of the mastery stage of the golden core stage. Who would dare to go up? The red flame beast's breath could burn them into ashes. When he saw the two of them, Chen Hao had already merged with heaven and earth. Although he did not have the thought that saving a life was better than a 7-storied pagoda, if he could save 2 lives by lifting his hand, Chen Hao still did not mind. Not to mention, the young man was so protective of a woman that it was worth Chen Hao to do so. Of course, Chen Hao was not sure if he could kill the red flame beast. Moreover, now was not the time. A great battle that he had no confidence in was still waiting for him. However, the safety zone was right in front of him. Blocking it for a while was not the slightest problem. But, the young man's words caused Chen Hao to be slightly stunned. Ling Tian sect, Xia Lan Lan. Could it be that she was Yu Yu's sister? Junior sister, goodbye. Save her. Duan Yufei looked at the indifferent crowd that was only 100 miles away. He did not dare hesitate, nor did he have the time to hesitate. Suddenly, he looked deeply at the young girl and said with determination. Without giving the young girl time to react, he suddenly swung his arm and used all his strength to throw the young girl away. Hiss. Ah. No. The young girl realized something and screamed in terror and despair. 7-star alignment, break. A clear voice could be heard all of a sudden. The young man who had completely given up on resisting and exhausted his last bit of strength was falling. His eyes were filled with affection, anxiety, and anticipation as he stared at the red figure that was rapidly approaching the palace. He did not think that he was already in a dead end. His only hope was that Xia Lanlan could survive and be rescued by others into the palace. However, at this moment, a clear and cold voice sounded in his ears. Immediately, he felt his body being forcefully thrown away. At the same time, he saw a dazzling and mysterious sword gleam. The energy was not strong. In fact, it was far inferior to his. However, the profound and incomparably sharp and indestructible aura contained in this sword gleam shocked him. Buzz! Buzz! Screams erupted from the palace, from the mouths of the cultivators who were holding or carrying swords on their backs. Their swords actually showed signs of being unsheathed uncontrollably. However, what shocked them even more was that at this moment, the terrifying red flame beast collided with the sword gleam that contained shocking sword intent. Boom! The earth shook and the mountains shook. The mountain-like red flame beast was actually split into 2. Like a collapsing mountain, it rumbled and collapsed to both sides. The lava-like body instantly dyed the sky red, like the magma of a volcano erupting. How is this possible? So strong, who could be so strong? Is this an expert of the nascent soul stage? Voices filled with shock and disbelief exploded in the palace. The cultivators who originally wanted to take advantage of the momentary opportunity that Duan Yufei had exchanged his life for to save Xia Lanlan in exchange for a huge sum of money had all forgotten to do so, dumbfounded. Hiss! A gust of wind blew past. Duan Yufei, who had not yet landed on the ground, was also grabbed by his clothes in shock. Then, Xia Lanlan, who had fallen less than 50 miles away from the palace, was also grabbed by someone and flew to the palace as fast as lightning. Senior brother. Xia Lanlan shouted weakly. Thank you. Duan Yufei did not answer Xia Lanlan. He looked at Chen Hao with difficulty and said. Everyone stared blankly at the young man in a white robe who was flying to the palace as fast as lightning. Ah, it's Chen Hao. It's Chen Hao. It's exactly the same as the portrait that Fan Feng took out. Too strong. What a terrifying sword intent, what a terrifying sword. Is he really only at the middle stage of the golden core stage? Who is Chen Hao? Some people who were just immersed in cultivation did not see the scene when Fan Feng arrived. After hearing someone call out his name, they could not help but ask. Chen Hao is the runner-up who tied with the champion of the 100 Empire rankings 2 years ago. Just now, the super genius of the sword faction, Fan Feng, went out to kill him, so strong. An early-stage Golden Core stage disciple, who knew the whole process but did not have the strength to follow and watch the show, stared at the rapidly approaching Chen Hao with eyes full of surprise and explained. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Chen Hao, who was flying over with one hand in each hand. Those who knew him and those who did not, without exception, were shocked beyond words. Because at this moment, they all clearly sensed Chen Hao's aura. He was only at the middle stage of the Golden Core stage, not the nascent Soul stage master they had imagined. Roar! Just as everyone was shocked, the huge body of the red flame beast condensed again in the blink of an eye and burst out with a roar that resounded through heaven and earth. Retreat quickly! All the practitioners who were swarming at the entrance of the palace suddenly had no time to be shocked and retreated into the palace in horror. Chen Hao took 2 people into the palace in time. Bang! 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 In 2 breaths, the red flame beast approached the palace. Knowing that it was impossible for the red flame beast to enter the palace, these practitioners were still scared out of their wits. Roar! Roar! Boom! The red flame beast, whose dignity had been challenged, rushed over crazily, but when it reached the entrance of the palace, it was directly rebounded by a mysterious and terrifying light. Its huge body rolled for dozens of miles before it stood up and roared crazily. In a moment, it rushed to the entrance of the palace again, but this time, it did not dare to approach. Instead, he roared angrily at the palace, especially Chen Hao. Weekly, I will update twice today. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.